What is going on, everybody? It's the Platform Sports Talk Show. I am your boy Smooth. Thanks for tuning in to your Wednesday night sports delight. Another Wednesday, we're here, but I am not alone. But right now, do me a favor. Take this time, go ahead and hit that like. Go ahead and share this stream. Let all your peoples and them know. Yes, I said in them. Let them know. Jam-packed show. A lot of topics to discuss. We're about to get it in. But without any further ado, first, let me introduce my team, my peoples, my crew. Up first, she's back, y'all. She came back on Ladies' Night. Now she's back on the big show. Everybody show love to Bunny. Bunny, what's happening?
What up, what up, what up? Smooth is in the building.
Yes, ma'am. It's good to have you back. How you feeling?
Hey, I don't want to reveal my TMI, but
I'm
good. No, because I am still nursing and I need to give my baby some milk. So, yeah, I'm still here. I'm going to just be doing that. Who didn't even move on, y'all? You know, I'm going to be sitting here talking, doing as we do while I'm doing that. Got to multitask. But so hump day. Thank you for having me as always. And how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Man, I am doing well. It's good to have you back. Once I bring Joe in, which matter of fact, well, I'll do it in a second. But once again, congrats to you, having the new edition and then coming back strong and fierce last week on Ladies' Night, which I'll be promoting that very soon. It was a great conversation that y'all had. Shouts out to Annie. And just like I said, just a great show. And welcome back to the Platform Sports Talk Show, Bunny. Good to have you back. Up next, the next lady of the Platform Sports Talk Show, Joe. What is going on with you?
Hey guys, not much. Happy Wednesday. We're almost there. Happy Hump Day. It's funny about you and Annie is my mom messaged me Thursday, I think. She was listening to it, and all she said was like, "Those two can really talk." And I'm like, "What are you talking?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "On Ladies' Night." I'm like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "Mom, that's why I said in the show, it's like anytime those two were talking, I'm just sitting back and watching." But
man,
yeah. So it was another good show, that's for sure.
And, for those watching for the first time, we've been holding things down for almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years in April, and things have grown so much with this show. And so now the ladies have their own thing. They're now in season 2 of Ladies' Night, as you see on your screen right there, with Sharita. She's our WWE extraordinaire, of course, Bunny, Joe, and Annie. And when I say these ladies, they hold it down. They know how to hold it down. So that's every first Wednesday of the month on the Platform Sports Talk Show. The ladies take over, and fellas, they know their stuff. So don't think they ain't got it. they comes with it. And good evening to our favorite fan, Miss Williams.
Hi, Miss
Showing
Williams.
love to
Hey,
everyone.
Miss Williams.
So, we have the ladies here, but I got one more person who's joining us tonight. And Miss Williams says, yes, last week was so much fun. Like, just the dialogue, it's just great. It's great entertainment. It's great knowledge. It's great everything that you want from for a sports talk show, especially from a ladies' point of view. So if you haven't watched it, you can watch the shows on Roku. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on Twitter and right here on Facebook. Every show is archived. But once again, I'm not done with this panel. Got some more people, one other person, should I say, on the show. He joined me for the last Platform Sports Talk Show, and he's back again because he got some more things to say, and that's T-Bone. T-Bone, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, everybody?
What's up?
What up? Nice to virtually meet you.
You too. glad to be a part of the smooth cinematic universe over here.
That sounds like the next Marvel movie name. There you go. Damn.
Hey,
go trademark that, Smooth. Go ahead, trademark that.
Hey, I'm about to say, stay tuned. It's coming. Yes, and for those who don't know, T-Bone also knows his WWE, but he also knows sports as well. He would not hide back. He throw them punches. He can handle it. He can dish it out. He come with that knowledge, and he's also part of the man cave goes down starting in March, y'all, the last Wednesday of the month. So you're going to have every last Wednesday of the month hosted by Stanton with Sadal. He'll be back. T-Bone, Richard Cash. For those who don't know about Richard Cash, man, this dude very opinionated, very funny with it. He don't hold back either. And Joe, you may know this guy in between Brian Turner and Stanton. Who was that guy right there?
He's a little cute. He looks familiar. That's my husband, Brendan. We call him B.
Go. Yeah. So it's going to be an amazing time coming up for the Platform Sports Talk Show as we're doing our thing, y'all. So right now, once again, go ahead and share. Go ahead and hit that like. Let's get as many people tuned in to your Wednesday night sports delight. And shouts out. There you go. Richard Cash. Yes, sir. Yes. So everyone, we have a lot of topics to discuss before we have our special guest who will be joining us at the top of the hour. So at this time, once again, share. And also for those on YouTube, who not on YouTube, or if you are whatever, you gotta subscribe. Bunny. I got you again, didn't I?
You did. I'm doing what Jumbo did last week. I got the backup. There you go, Joe. Thank you.
So on YouTube, subscribe, click on that.
There you go.
Because anytime we go live, Bunny,
you down there too will be notified.
There we go. So let's get right into it. This is you now have my attention. So this is what sports story or stories has recently had your attention. T-Bone, you said I should know what's on your mind, but go ahead and tell me what's happening.
Well, it came from that infamous group chat, the one that we were talking about. But, there was something I noticed that caught my attention, and it seemed to go under the radar by a lot of people, and that's with the MLB. If you notice, the steroid policy kind of expired while this collective bargaining agreement is held up. So that can have some repercussions coming up. You've already just had the Hall of Fame issue where, Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, where they didn't get in, and it's pretty much because the writers hate them because they use steroids and they didn't like it. But what happens if, this collective bargaining agreement changes and, the steroid policy changes and it loosens up, and then things that were not allowed for the past 20 years all of a sudden become allowed? How does that make everything look?
Good
not
question.
saying if it goes away, right? I don't think that they're going to be like, look, get all the steroids you can get, Hulk up, if you will. But
hey, do it while you can. Do it while supplies last.
but like what happens if, whatever the thresholds are now, what if they change those thresholds and then they say, okay, well, we allow it as long as it's up to a certain level, or, the testing becomes more infrequent or whatever, or, something like that, or the penalty isn't as bad, because what is the penalty now? It's like 50 games for the first time, 100 games, or what is the whole season the next time or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, first off, I was saying, Joe, you can attest to this or you can add more to it. But first off, the Hall of Fame committee going to be pissed. and those who are not in the Hall of Fame because of the steroid era are going to be livid. That's why I was saying in the group message that, I feel like this would be, be changed right away once they have an agreement. But until then, it's going to be kind of like out in the open because there's no agreement going on. But I personally feel Hall of Fame committee and whoever else associated with the steroid era are going to be pissed about what's going on right now. Which they already are because baseball has a strike, which is a whole other subject. But Joe, feel free to go ahead and further elaborate.
Yeah, it's well, that whole sticky thing that happened this year, sticky stuff. Might as well bring that back if you're gonna let batters do whatever they want to do. I don't know. It's baseball. I literally have written down on my notes saying, like, I don't even want to talk about baseball because it's so depressing and it annoys me. I do think that the writers are going to be a little upset. I feel like your biggest writers did vote for those big guys that you mentioned, T-Bone. But there's obviously a lot of old schooler guys that don't vote for those guys. That's why they didn't get in. But I can't remember the name, Fred, if you remember or not. That's that other vote they do later on for the Hall of Fame.
Veterans.
The veteran, it's like Veterans Committee Crew, something like that. I know it's something that they do like every 5 years or something like that, Joe.
Yes, something like that. And so I mean, we've seen players from the past just recently. I can't remember. There's a pitcher, I think, or maybe it was a batter for the Tigers. I can't remember, but he just got in one of the last times, and people were saying, it's BS that he got in because he wasn't even that good to begin with. But so you're going to see average people getting in, and then you'll probably see more steroid era people getting in, which I think Bonds will get in that way, regardless if steroids come back. But it's going to put everything up in the air with baseball. I don't think it should happen, and who knows? I mean, there's people like Max Scherzer and Garrett Cole that are in the Players Association that have a lot to say about all this stuff that they're voting on, or with the new CBA. So I don't see it sticking. Like something's going to happen to where it's not going to breed steroids back into the game.
Yeah,
even though there's people that still do it, that just either get caught or don't get caught.
Yeah, or they might change, like I said, they might change the threshold of the penalties for getting caught, bring that back down a little bit, try to, especially now, I think in 2021 compared to like the late 90s or early 2000s, like I don't think that steroids necessarily have, or, PEDs in general, I don't think that they carry the same necessary stigma that they did back then. I think a lot of people kind of cooled off, especially with medical advancements and different ways of doing things. I think that the players, some of them might be able to make cases to say, like, look, we're playing all these games. We want the ability, if our doctor gives us something to, help our bodies recover better, to be able to take it. So I think that there could be arguments about that as well. So that was just something, like I said, just caught my attention, and we'll see what happens with it.
I mean, there's obviously different, I don't even say they're all PEDs or whatever you want to call it. There's different types of this stuff out there to where, like, some people use it for recovery, but there's obvious scenarios like McGuire to where that was strictly for hitting bombs, like that's just strictly was what it was for. But again, like I said last week on Ladies Night, is not Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire saved baseball with that, like that's just a fact. Baseball was at a really low point, kind of like it is now, and with them having their home run race, that saved baseball. Like people, I remember in the documentary they showed a couple of years ago on ESPN, like people just followed McGuire from other fan bases just to watch him get in that bet, So, I mean, they say baseball at that time, but there's obviously different types of this stuff out there. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when baseball comes back.
So let me post this comment back up. Do y'all agree with this statement that if everyone starts juicing to make the game more interesting?
No.
It depends because Jobo, no, to me it depends. Jobo was a personal tradition, do it by the rules.
Sure.
Now, for that. However,
first off, Bunny, I've been loosened up a little bit lately.
You still like
I don't think
from
you
1970s before style, which is okay. That's your cup of tea. There's nothing wrong with that. So everybody start juicing will make it interesting. It depends. Everybody does not want to see home runs. However, the younger generation does. Everybody's set on more instant action, quick stuff. So they probably don't care. If you're looking at the traditional, do it by the rules, old school baseball people, they're not going to want to watch.
Well, this is my thing about home runs. That's all you see now anyways. You're either seeing a strikeout or you're seeing a home run. And It came out a month or two ago that Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball had different balls used throughout the year. So like the Tigers and the Orioles, they would have balls to where it'd be deadened. And then you have a Yankees-Dodgers game going on. They juice the balls up, So it's home runs are literally the game now.
But do you want to start seeing baseball come like WWE? We know it's entertainment. We know it's fake. We know these people aren't naturally talented because they're juicing. Do you want to see it like that, though?
Hey.
Yes. I'm just saying what some people think. I'm just saying everybody's not going to have the same opinion.
T-Bone. What you got to say?
Come on with it.
No, they not. Wait a. I'm insulted.
Obviously, wrestling's fake. We all know this, but they're very talented and they're definitely athletes.
What is the they? I'm missing the they. What is the they part?
Who?
Okay. I'll equivalent instead of using wrestling. You know how a lot in the last 5-10 years, the NBA has seen a lot of more people take 3-point field goal attempts and 3-point shots made. And the game is going to where the new generation of athletes, the next ones going to the NBA, are going to shoot more and more threes, whether they're good or not, bad at it. That is not the same with the MLB and steroids, but it's close. The game is changing to where you're just looking for somebody to be able to make a three. Sometimes some people, and I'm around crowds of people, like to see a three made over a dunk. Dunk used to be the thing, like, oh, wow, you see that, and it still is. But you got people now more intrigued about, let me see if you can make that three from the half court line, from the logo, from behind the logo. And you just like, wait a minute. The game of basketball is not just about shooting the three, but people have kind of steered towards that now. And
I don't think we can compare that to PEDs and baseball because home run has been the game for the better half of a decade now. Like that's all it is.
But they still want more of that. It's like how many more home runs you're going to see,
which is ridiculous because you got more and more guys hitting more closer to 50 home runs than 20 home runs these days. You know what I'm saying? Like it happens. Like we've talked about on the show before that Whitey ball was fun and interesting. Right. We talk about that at least once a month on the show. But
if we were outside of St. Louis and outside of a baseball town, fans who were true to people like you wouldn't even give a care about Whitey ball like that. St. Louis, we got our own baseball club. How we like it. We knew what did it, but other people don't. And you're talking about the newer fans are going to be seeing this generation of non-steroid testing people. It's going to change the game, definitely. But it's like, again, you want to see people have their butts in the stands, or you want people to be like, oh, that's not how you should do it. That's the tradition.
I think that back in like 98, because that came on the heels of a baseball strike before that kind of got people down about baseball. But the thing was, the people that were hitting the home runs were stars, which we talked about before that baseball isn't doing a great job of. So if steroids can do anything, and I'm not advocating for it, but I'm saying to respond to that comment, if people were using steroids and you had somebody with talent, there's the possibility that somebody could catch a lot more attention based on what they do, right? You could, again, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but like when you saw Mark McGwire, it wasn't just seeing Mark McGwire. Mark McGwire was a larger-than-life person. So if you want to go to WWE or wrestling in general, which I was a wrestler, so but when you go to that, the people in that 90s time frame, that early 2000s, you're talking about larger-than-life people. And like right now, baseball doesn't have too many of those larger-than-life people that cross over beyond baseball because McGwire, Sosa, and don't forget Ken Griffey Jr. was like trailing in third place of that home run race in 98. Mm-hmm. But, those guys captured the attention. But even if you look at Griffey was not far behind. Like he was around where they were for the most part till you got towards the very end of it. People didn't talk about Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Jr. was a baseball player. People talked about Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Even when Griffey was in the graphic, nobody talked about Griffey. The best out of the three, the best baseball player that nobody talked about. But they talked about those people that they thought of as larger than life figures. And once it catches steam, which this was going to come up once we got to the All-Star game, I was actually going to bring this whole subject up. But I think that's the only thing that steroids could do is if somebody's body transformed to where they become that larger than life action figure looking person and people become mesmerized of it, it'll bring more attention to the sport.
Only thing I'll say to that is baseball has those people without steroids. They just don't showcase them.
But that's why baseball fails. They don't market their stars like the MLB.
But steroids isn't going to fix that, though. That's what I'm saying. Right. They have those people in the game right now.
Right.
You don't need steroids to make that happen.
If you have somebody who's already one of the best at the game, right? Mark McGwire was known before 98. Right, even though he may have been using it like well before then, he was known well before then.
The original Splash Brothers, part of that.
But yeah, but it was something about that one particular thing, right? You had two players who were very well known, and even when you go to Barry Bonds had been known well before 2004, 2005 when he hit his record season. Like all of them were known well before they took steroids. And again, not an endorsement for steroids, but I think that when they transformed in the way that they did, and now on top of their talent, they're doing extraordinary things that weren't happening before. That's where you saw the interest in baseball pick up. So it would have to be somebody like I don't want to say Mike Trout.
Well, listen, if Trout, Ohtani, Acuna, Tatis, Soto, Judge, Stanton are all healthy next year, whenever the season starts, and that's just to name a couple, yeah, baseball's going to be on the map. You know, last year, Tatis was hurt off and on. Acuna tore his ACL. He was gone. You know, like, Trout was gone since May, I think. You know, like, you had some of the top players in all of the game hurt, you know, off and on all year. And it was an exciting year of baseball. You know, we finally got a full season again and whatnot. So, I don't know. Like, I get what you're saying, but then I don't, just because, like, we don't need steroids or anything to make these guys seem any more like superheroes than they already are.
But T-Bone, I want to say something real quickly. You mentioned about Ken Griffey being in the hunt with Sosa and McGwire. Well, even though he wasn't getting talked about toward the end on camera, we talked about him off camera because them shoes he had were bad. Love them Ken Griffey Juniors, man. Them things was hot. And that's the thing, though. That's a baseball player who had tennis shoes. Now, baseball players wear cleats on the field. This man had a whole tennis shoe and was selling out. Them suckers was bad. That's something baseball can help get going. Have these stars, you all say they have them. They do. So why aren't enough younger people interested or not know who they are? Market to them. You got to market it, though.
Hey,
and
Joe,
tennis shoes will do it because them was bad, I'm telling you.
Joe, isn't Mike Trout like the only one who has like a major shoe deal in baseball right now?
Trout has a major shoe deal with Nike. Bryce Harper has one with Under Armour. And then
okay.
I think there's a couple people that have deals with Adidas, like Chris Bryant, Alex Bregman, and Aaron Judge, I think have some with Adidas as well.
And then
but again, you don't see about it all the time. But I know Harper and Trout do like giveaways and, you know, things like that.
And then I know you have like Team Jordan, so like Dexter Fowler, Manny Machado, other guys who wear some Jordan, Mookie Betts wear Jordans. Yeah, so you have that. But my last thing about the home run. If you ask a purist, the true baseball fans who go to games or whatever, I feel that they would rather see a triple or a double every hit, except for seeing a home run every hit. You know what I'm saying? And also, someday Anthony Stalter brought up on 101 ESPN. He was saying how the game of baseball needs to be not everyone trying to do the same thing, trying to have a home run team. Have a team, like let's say you in Colorado, have a team that's like built on speed and gap hitting. You know what I'm saying? Teams should be able to say, you know, if I go to Chicago, I know there's going to be power hitters. If I go to St. Louis, I know it's going to be a mixture of power, but you're gonna have a lot more fundamental style of play. If I go to Colorado, it's gonna be a speed demon of a team. So it needs to be just different variables of how teams are playing. Not everyone focus on launch angle and exit velo, as the game has been going on over the last few years now. So hopefully it gets to a point where the steroid thing isn't going to be an issue, which I feel it'll be over with once the CBA agrees. But bottom line is we don't want to have the game to be focused solely on, oh, he hit a home run, my day is made, I can go home now.
I would say the perfect team you can look at is the Braves in the playoffs, you know, like, I mean, Freddie Freeman won like 3 or 4 games of not even getting on base, you know. There's people with this Braves coat. You know, so like Braves were, they hit doubles, they hit triples, they swiped bags, they played good defense, they had great pitching, having a mixture of all that stuff. That's exciting. The Braves were very fun to watch.
We got to ask who's it exciting too. You just said, Fred, the baseball traditionalists, right? But again, the next generation don't have that many baseball traditionalists. I hear what y'all saying, but if you want to put butts in the seat, you want to see that long ball. People just want to be entertained. Like I said, you got to have it faster pace. Hence why baseball keeps saying they're trying to find ways to speed the game up. We're looking at now, 10 years from now, that next generation of spectators and stuff, that you're losing your traditionalists. That's all I'm saying. So you got to change.
So we're saying that having everyone hit a home runs is going to make the game faster.
It does it, but it's exciting to get some money. At the end of the day, what do people want besides busting the seats? That equates to what? Money. It's all about money, y'all. This is a business. We are people that are sports fans. We love this, entertain us. Yes. The owners and MLB, the upper management want to see what? Green. That's all they care about. So they got to have a whole team full of home run hitters, and their team is under 500 every year. As long as people are coming to see it, they're going to keep letting them do it.
And that's one of the issues right now in regards to the strike is it's time to make all these teams more competitive and not so one-sided. That's going to bring more money. True. That's going to bring more money to the game when they see all these teams competing, like what Ms. Williams said about Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. It was how they were competing. Yeah, they did some things, but it was just the process of them competing. So baseball, the players want to see all these teams competing, not just after 1 month. Now we know that the Pirates ain't gonna be nothing. No, we want to go.
I mean,
look at the season. You already know they're not gonna do it when the season starts. That's sad. NFL, at least you can have.
That's the issue.
Can we
that's the issue.
Basketball, because there's a reason why I don't have an Orlando Magic banner behind me.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say the Marlins. Kim Ng's been the general manager for 2 years, and the Marlins have been exciting for the first time since early 2000s because they're putting better roster out there, and they got, fans in the seats. Imagine if Baltimore started doing that. When Baltimore's a good baseball team, that place is thriving.
Exactly.
And it's fun to watch.
And that's
baseball.
more money. That's more money for that team.
Baltimore and for baseball.
League. Yeah. And like even going back to the days where McCutcheon and then with Pittsburgh, how they were actually pretty good. You saw the blackout.
Yeah.
Yeah, it brought a whole different meaning to the game of baseball when you're seeing these teams be competitive. But before we even go any further with that, Joe, did you have something in regards to what was on what has your attention right now?
Yeah, mine's kind of short because we'll learn about it eventually about everything else that's going to happen. But in 2019, Tyler Skaggs passed away due to opioids, and it sounds like some stuff's going to be coming out about baseball, other players that might have been not sold, but maybe sold. I don't know, given these opioids from the same guy that was with the Angels. I know Matt Harvey's name's out there right now, and I think also Andrew Heaney. So that could be another big thing that's going to happen to the league. That could be, a big old scratch mark on it, just it'd be terrifying or horrible, if it was big name people that were given that. And, just like with the sticky stuff last year, there's an article that came out with big name pitchers on there. So we'll see what happens with this. But an article came out last night, I think, that Jeff Passan put out. And so that could be something big that, keep your eye on.
And just to keep it baseball real quick, man, they are such in bad shape. If you didn't know, last week, Major League Baseball put in a request to have a mediator to be between the players and the owners. The players like, no, we ain't doing that. Now more than likely, we're not gonna have spring training, which starts next week. Not gonna have that on time. And
so tomorrow we should see that there's a delay.
More than likely, and then I think it's gonna go right to the season. We may miss a month of baseball because the top heads are just not trying to make anything happen at all in regards to trying to please the players and please the fans who wants these players to be back on the field.
There's gonna have to be some sort of a spring training because these guys can't just walk into, playing. they're going around and doing, batting cages and all this good stuff, but it's not spring training. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's not going to start on time. I heard that tomorrow is probably going to be the day that you'll hear that spring training is not going to be on time. Who knows what's going to happen? We're obviously not going to have 162 games. Who knows if we'll have 60 like we did in 2020. So it's just depressing. And, that's why I said I literally put down on my notes, I don't even want to talk about baseball, and we've talked about it for 30 minutes.
So sorry, Joe. We ain't mean to make you sad here on the platform.
Sad. It is
talk
sad.
Show.
I don't even tweet about baseball anymore. It's just so sad.
But with that being said, I have something that's gonna lighten the mood up, because something that has my attention is this man right here.
Oh my gosh, I see. What's his name? Austin Huff.
Yeah,
I saw he posted. He said this. What did he say?
Porn.
My God. Yeah, he's like football porn or something.
So Jeff Fisher, I think everyone should know who he is if you are from St. Louis. Former St. Louis Rams and LA Rams head coach, and of course former Tennessee Titans head coach. But now he is the head coach of the Michigan Panthers football team for the United States Football League. That's going to be starting like right after the Super Bowl. But he's back in football. When I saw that, I'm like, I wonder if he's going to be like 5-5, because they only play 10 games in the season. So I'm like, I wonder if their record is going to be like 5-5 or 4-6 or something like that. But when I saw it, I'm like, wow, he's finally back in some kind of capacity.
He looks horrible, by the way. He looks exactly the same. He looks horrible.
Oh man, it's like, oh God. It's like when you see him.
Wait a minute. I just thought about something, with the whole Brian Flores talking about, he was kind of paid or was offered to be paid to lose some games. How you know it's not the story for Jeff Fisher?
Mm-hmm.
Well, definitely is.
And he was I'll take the money.
Oh, yeah.
And see, that's why so many people still to this day, even though we have that $798 million settlement from the NFL, but a lot of people are like, we should have dug in more to really see what went behind the curtains in regards to the deals that Kroenke and Demoff was doing with Goodell and Jerry Jones and whoever else. Like, yeah, of course, who want to turn down $800-some million? But what we were getting in regards to sources was it could have been up to $1 billion, but then we want to take it to court to really get into how dirty things have been. And with this thing happening with Brian Flores and other people are starting to talk up more about certain things, and now what's going on with the Washington Commanders, T-Bone, not the football team, but the Commanders, and all that's going on. It's time to get these layers to peel these layers off and see what's really going on behind the scenes, and that's what we were really hoping for if you are a St. Louis representative. So, but it is what it is. I just thought it was kind of funny seeing Jeff Fisher back in the spotlight as a head coach of some kind of capacity. But also, go ahead. You got something to say, T-Bone?
I was gonna say, how would you feel if he took his team to the championship?
I mean, it wouldn't bother me because it is the United States Football League. It ain't like it's the NFL or NCAA football. NCAA. So, hey, more success to you if you still got it or not. We're gonna find out. But
I'd like to see how the USFL does against the XFL next year. If the USFL lasts the season.
And no, I'm sorry, that was the Canadian Football League. There were talks in the past about the XFL and the CFL coming together doing something, but they said they may have to push that back. But we shall see. Once again, this is your Wednesday night Sports Delight. Make sure y'all go ahead and share this stream right now. Hit that like button. Get more people tuned in. Bring them comments. Bring them questions. Let's go ahead and get it. So we already talked about baseball. So we done with that, Joe. But
oh my God.
Let's go and talk about the NHL All-Star Weekend. It went down this past weekend. What were your overall thoughts in regards to all the festivities and the game itself?
It was fun to watch, especially, since we haven't had one since it was here in St. Louis in 2019, 2020. I will say some of the outdoor stuff they did, while it was cool looking, it was kind of awkward because it's all quiet and stuff. But I always love watching the skills competition. It's fun to watch that stuff. Get to see McDavid and everyone. Like they brought back the oh my gosh, what is it called? Whenever they do crazy things for the shootout goal. I can't think of it.
Oh, yeah. I heard about that.
Yeah, so that was gone for a couple of years, but they brought it back, and they had celebrities be the judges, and like John Hamm was on there. But
I heard he was being real biased.
Yeah, it was only funny because like Alex Petrangelos is probably by far the worst. That's not me being upset that he left. Like, it was bad. And John Hamm gave him a 19, which wasn't even an option, which is funny because of 2019. But no, those are fun. I love watching the hardest shot and everything. And Jordan Kyrou won the fastest skater, which Connor McDavid's had that beat for the last 3-4 years now. So that was fun. But yeah, the games itself, they're more entertaining now that it's 3-on-3. But the games are still kind of like whatever, like I'll watch it because there's a Blues player in there, but the game itself isn't my favorite part. I just really like the skills competition.
So if I'm correct, so you have what, the Metropolitan, you have the Central, and you have what, the Atlantic,
Western, and Atlantic, or there's 4 of them. I can't even think
and something else. Okay, so like the first period is like, let's say the Central versus Metropolitan, and then the second period is the other 2 teams, conferences, and then the third period is whoever is the winner of the first and second period. Is that correct?
So they do 2 periods of Pacific and Metro. I can't even say that word, Metro, and they'll do 2 10 or 15-minute periods, I think, and then whoever wins that game goes on to the next round, and then the other 2 play each other, same thing, and then they play each other for the championship.
Okay.
It's fun. It's definitely a better setup than it was a couple of years ago, especially now that it's 3-on-3, because a couple of years ago these scores would be just insane.
Crazy. It'd be like 20 to 13 or 18 or whatever. I'm like, what the world?
Yeah, like we like seeing home runs and stuff and goals, but that's a little too much. I can't handle that. But yeah, I mean it's definitely a lot more fun to watch 3-on-3. But just the games itself, which we're going to talk later about all-stars, but the games itself is not really my cup of tea, but you gotta support Jordan Kyrou and whatnot.
Yeah, and speaking of him, he definitely showed out, represented St. Louis to the fullest. Is he the star that the Blues have been waiting for?
So I saw this on your rundown. I don't know if it's the star like that we've been waiting for, because I mean I feel like our team's been full of stars for the last couple of years now.
Okay, so I'll change it up a little bit. Is he like, because we've been craving to have someone like an Ovechkin and a Crosby and and a Connor McDavid kind of guy on our team? Do you think that he could be that kind of guy for the Blues?
Those are some big names that you named there for 23, 24-year-old. I don't know. I will say I thought Rob Tom was going to be some sort of type of player like this right now, but I mean he's been a point per game type of guy now, so Rob Tom's is what he is, Maybe not OV and Crosby and McDavid, but maybe like the next tier down. Yeah, I mean he was like a top prospect for us, so I mean you gotta hope he's gonna be something like that. But I mean we had Tarasenko from his rookie year up until a year or 2 ago, and he was up there with those guys. But regardless, it's awesome to have someone who went out and showed out. I think Kyrou even said that Sidney Crosby wanted his jersey, so that's awesome. When you have one of the best players in our generation asking for your jersey and whatnot. So he's a big player for the Blues, but he had a great year last year too. So I get what you're saying, but he had a great year last year too and whatnot. And he's been good all this year so far.
Yeah, I just feel like this is definitely his coming out party, and it's good to see him getting the love that he's getting, and just really showing that the Blues now when teams are facing the Blues, they have to think in their mind they got Kyrou, so we have to prepare for him more. And I feel that's going to open up the game for You got like Tarasenko and other guys on the line as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like I've been saying though, like since last year's our roster is so deep, you know, and Kyrou just adds to that. And like I said, Rob Tom, he's having a great year this year, and that just makes it even deeper. And beginning of the year, Senko was doing better than we all thought he was going to be. So, and we had lots of injuries, and we're in a good spot. So, yeah, I mean,
2 questions for you, Jobo. Number 2, Kyrou. Has he been with us for a couple of years? He's in the minor leagues, and he happened to get a chance because of COVID issues, or he's a rookie?
So he came up last year, and I'm pretty positive he played all of last year. I don't think he came up in 2019. If he did, he was barely here. But, yeah, I don't remember if it was COVID. It was just he was a rookie, and he came up last year, and he was great last year. He started off really hot.
Okay, the other question is, Tarasenko, though, whole another season, middle of the season, and we still have him on our roster, and he demanded a trade off season. So we're still trying to trade him or not? Because he's still pretty productive.
I don't know what's going to happen with Senko. I mean, he looks to be having fun. The guys seem to be loving him on the team. Like I said earlier, he started off really hot for the team. He slowed down a little bit, but I mean, we'll see whenever the trade deadline happens, which, shoot, I can't even remember what the trade deadline is in hockey. It might be March, honestly.
They're after April. NBA because they start their season before the NBA. NBA's deadline is a couple of days.
Yeah, so I mean, it might be coming up because a lot of guys have been signing extensions the last couple of days throughout the league. So, but I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. You know, Army has done some surprising things in the past, so I do think we need at least one really good defender for us to make a deep run again. So if he's going to be that guy to, you know, package someone like that to come over here, we'll see. You know, I think we definitely have enough guys on the team to take a spot. You know, like if we lose them, it'll suck for like nostalgic reasons. But I mean, do you want to win another cup or do you want to keep Tarasenko for nostalgic reasons after everything he said about the Blues?
And then, you know, honestly, he could have a change of heart because maybe he realized over the season, you know what, maybe I am in a good place. Maybe I was wrong to say what I said. You know, maybe they had them talks behind the scenes. This hasn't been put out there yet. But it's very possible that he could be like, you know what, things are perfect here. I have what I need. The team is on the rise. So, you know, we right there in the thick of things. And they can actually win and go all the way. Which brings me to our next segment in regards to thoughts on the second half of the season. They had about a good 11 days off and not doing anything, and now they just started back up and they play them all. They're currently in the 4th seed in the Central Division. I believe right now the playoffs start today. They'll be in the wild card right now. But Jordan Bennington, guys, talk about it real quick. If he starts and he comes out and he lays a thud, should that mean that Husso should be the number 1 goalie for the remainder of the season?
I think the last time we talked about this, I said the All-Star break is my timeline for him. So let's see what happens if he starts tomorrow, which I don't see why they wouldn't start him tomorrow. If he starts tomorrow and, you know, like you said, the dud, then I think we'll be seeing a lot more of Husso. And hello, baby.
Right.
Baby. Sorry. You know, I got multitask, so I'm still engaged. I'm still talking, but
no, you're good.
It's all good. We are, as you see, we are a family show on the platform, Sports Talk Show. So we talked about the NHL All-Star Game, and let's go ahead and now get right into the NBA because they have a whole lot of festivities going on in regards to the All-Star Weekend, which will be in Cleveland. But just in regards to overall in the NBA, is it time, Bunny? I'll ask you this. Is it time to start showing the Cleveland Cavaliers some love? Because right now they are number 4 in the Eastern Conference overall, and they're playing incredible ball. They just made a huge trade with the Pacers to get Chris LeVert. They already got Rondo from the Lakers earlier. I mean, who would have thought that since LeBron left, even though the Lakers did win 2 years ago, you know, bubble season, but still. But who would have thought that the Cleveland Cavaliers would bounce back the way that they are now and doing so much better than the Lakers are doing? Who would have saw that coming?
Nobody. Now I saw the Cleveland trying to do something, but I still didn't even have them have a foot in this race for trying to get postseason, even on the Eastern Conference side. But that definitely surprised me. That trade is definitely gonna push them up there more. I'm not sure how much more because I thought the Knicks would have been better this season, and they're not. Celtics again thought they would have been better in the East, and they're not. So Cleveland can actually. They would if they even squeeze into the playoff because they're fourth right now, but a lot can happen between now and April. They won't do too much, but it's still surprising that we can say they're going to actually be back in the playoffs already. For what LeBron left after 2016, so yeah, I guess it's about time. So yeah.
Yeah, and Miss Williams, I feel after they got Karis LeVert. That's going to change in regards to taking the foot off the gas in the fourth quarter, especially now that you're realizing that the second half of the season starts in 2 weeks. You're getting down to almost playoff position. So it's in having guys like Kevin Love and Rondo already on the team, veteran guys who know how to win, who's won championships or a championship in the past. It's going to be pretty big for that roster to learn how to finish games, especially getting into playoff mode. So definitely I say keep an eye out for the Cavaliers. They're holding things down. She said that the last game she watched with the Cavs, they almost lost in the fourth quarter after leading most of the game. But on the flip side, when they played the Pacers a couple of days ago, the same day they made that trade for Karis LeVert, the Cavaliers were down like 28-4 and end up winning that game. So they're learning how to win. So shouts out to
what? They learn how to win, and look at their coach's Bickerstaff.
I was about to say the same thing. Shouts out to JB Bickerstaff, son of Bernie Bickerstaff. I mean, no one saw this coming to the degree of how well they're playing right now. When I looked up, I was like, wait a minute. It's January or now February, and the Cavaliers are in fourth place.
I never saw that coming. Again, that should be the Celtics spot, even crazy, the Hornets spot. But the Cavs?
Right.
No, wait a minute. I have to object here. Because we at the halfway point. Well, maybe a little bit over the halfway point, but we relatively around that space. And I've seen this happen with the Magic before, where the Magic are all of a sudden higher than people would think they should be in the playoff rankings, you know, when you get to this point. And then the rest of the season happens, and then other teams kick it into high gear. I'm looking at the East right now. This is my first time looking at the standings all year. And I'm not shocked that they're where they are. I mean, it's not a lot of competition. I mean, I know that there's stuff going on with like Brooklyn, right? But it's not like any of those teams that are ranked number 1 through 10. There's not that much of a gap between, you know, the first five and the last five.
Right.
So
anything can happen on any given week. You have one bad winning streak, you can go down. Ask the Nets, ask Brooklyn. They were in first place like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and now they in 8th spot, 5.5 games behind, and lost 9 in a row.
Now,
so yeah, anything can happen.
If you're the Pacers, the Magic, or the Pistons, just don't even play. Just cancel the season. But the rest of them,
I wouldn't even say that because you still have the play-in, in which teams 7 through 10, they have the opportunity to go into the playoffs still when they have the play-in round, which happened for the first time last year. So like the Pacers, right? So the Pacers, they're currently what's that, 8 games out from the 10th spot. And now with the trade that they just made recently, which was a huge trade to acquire guys like Tyler Halliburton, Buddy Hield, other guys. Once again, a good week or two, you can make some noise. You got plenty of time still.
I'm not saying it. They'd have to jump over New York, Washington, and then knock out either Atlanta, Charlotte, Brooklyn, Boston, Toronto. You know, I'm not saying it.
Now the Wizards, it was announced yesterday that Bradley Beal of St. Louis is on. He'll be out for the rest of the season due to a possible surgery on his wrist. So, like I said, anything can happen, especially with you adding an infusion of certain guys to a team. it could change the whole dynamic. I mean, look what happened, Joe. You can relate to this with the Washington Nationals a couple years ago. They sucked the first half of the season and ended up going to the World Series.
Yeah,
Bryce Harper still on that team or no?
No, you can even say the same thing about the Braves this year. They weren't
correct.
A game over 500 or 5 games over 500 up until August, I think. Just some teams go on a magical run, and it's not how you start, it's how you finish, obviously.
And Mr. Williams, Harden is not happy. There are multiple reports that he wants out of Brooklyn.
So what happened though to make him unhappy? I was going to ask y'all this.
It's pretty much what we discussed plenty of times when he first arrived, being around KD and Kyrie. And what I think happened is he assumed once he got to Brooklyn, it was going to be easy. So he thought it was going to be an easy path to get to a ring. And then when adversity starts hitting, he realized, oh man, this is kind of hard. This is what I wasn't planning on all this. I got to do a little extra stuff, and now he can't take it. So now he wants to find another way to leave that situation to go to a different team. And Daryl Morey, who is the former owner or GM of the Houston Rockets when Harden played there, he's now the GM for the 76ers. And that's what they're trying to do a deal with right now, is with Philadelphia to acquire Ben Simmons. But yeah, he's frustrated with the Kyrie situation, not having Kyrie for both home and away games. KD is not his fault because he's hurt right now. But I just really feel like because it's not easy for him like he thought it may be, now he wants to find an easy way out.
So what's the easy way out though? I mean, he never plays defense. Everybody knows Harden doesn't play defense. How do you think you had these championship teams? They're not defenseless teams. They have good defense. Look, right. I don't get Harden. I thought you went to the Rockets when you left the Thunder. You wanted to be the star. You got to be the star. You shining bright. I guess
you had everything you needed.
He probably missed us, Houston, honestly.
He had everything he needed right in Houston.
He did. Up to the end. So I'm confused. I'm like, what?
While we're on basketball and stars, past stars, whatever stars, I saw you post about Westbrook today. Russell Westbrook, he's obviously not happy either.
That's actually more self-inflicted with Westbrook.
It is.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, it's big names not happy with where they're at with their new teams.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
you see that interview with LeBron the other day when they lost to Milwaukee?
Yep. He said that, and it's the truth. I mean, they're not at the level of winning a championship, and it's kind of like he ain't gonna say it out front, like, yeah, Russ, you to go or whatever. But there's been talks between the team that they know the guys that you have on this team right now is not going to be the guys that's going to win a championship.
But when the season started, remember I was knocking them, calling them the AARP team because they had a lot of veterans, a lot of age on there. You can win a championship with age. But, like I said, it's not how you start, how you finish. But they had the growing pains at the beginning. But after a while, I know you need team chemistry. But team chemistry ain't even the issue. It's just right hand, left hand, middle foot, upper hand. Nobody's talking to each other. Forget what the right hand, left hand is doing. And then I'm like, okay, when everybody's trying to throw Russell Westbrook and Vogel under the bus, I'm like, you can't put it that way either. Because AD has played only, a good 10 games all season. It's like with the Nets when I was telling you on the chat with why is it Kyrie, Harden, and KD had gone 10 games out of 2 seasons being together, only 10 games together. Lakers almost the same thing. AD, LeBron, and Westbrook have played 10 games together. What y'all say? I mean, that's your offense there. So when you have one key piece missing your offense, just like with the Nets and Kyrie, what y'all think is gonna happen?
That's where the chemistry issue comes in because everyone's now on the court at the same time. So how can you even get any kind of chemistry when for 10 games you don't have LeBron, for 30 games you don't have AD, you still haven't had Kendrick Nunn. He's a young guy. He hasn't played one game. Russell Westbrook is the only one on the Lakers who's played every game this season.
And that's the only little bit I give him slack on is because he has been consistently there every game, and the rest of them haven't. He plays hard. We may not like his style of play, but he show up every day and playing. You got to give him credit because how much talent Kyrie got, and he ain't showing up every day for his personal reasons. I get it, but still, on paper, we all knew at the beginning of the season, we like it should be the Nets and the Lakers in the championship. Neither one of them are really at 500 and doing good. And then again, now injury with KD, unfortunately. I know people just want to keep pointing fingers, but majority of your offense, they're not all playing together. So let's just move on to see who else is going to actually show up. Now, the Lakers may have a chance to redeem themselves, but the West is so much more competitive than the East still. Now, if Harden leaves the Nets, I can see them flourishing without Harden, actually. I really can. I can see them still being playoffs in the East and making a good run for it. Without Harden.
It should be very interesting. Once again, this is the Platform Sports Talk Show. Once again, a lot of topics to discuss, a lot of energy in the show. I love it. A lot of great opinions. This is fun. Our special guest will be on in a matter of minutes. I want to keep on going on real quick to the NBA All-Star weekend. The festivities coming up. It's going to be pretty exciting, and I have a lot of stuff to show out. So let's get right into it. First, to start off with this. So they have a new event called the Clutch Challenge. So you have 4 teams going on. The first team is given a minute, 30 seconds to make a shot from each of the 5 locations. As you see here on the bottom right screen, what they're doing is they're honoring certain moments of NBA history. So like if you recall the Magic Johnson famous baby hook in the NBA Finals against the Celtics, or the Ray Allen three-pointer in the corner with Miami Heat versus the Spurs, the Dame Lillard shot. So each team has an opportunity to make those shots from each of those 5 locations. Player on each team must alternate shooting. So it's like you can't be at the same spot shooting. You have to alternate from each spot. And then the rules, as you see on the screen, the format, once again, a group of 8 NBA players and G League Ignite. That's what I like the most about this, is that you're allowing people from the G League to get an opportunity to play and get a spotlight. So that's pretty cool. But they'll be divided to 4 teams, as you can see on the far left, to compete to make shots from 5 locations on the court, tied to iconic shots made in the NBA playoffs. So I like how they're being so creative, and I wish. Now, I know, Joe, you said earlier about the NHL and how they kind of made things more interesting because they were in Vegas, and how they added, different things, having it outside and doing stuff like this. I look forward to seeing this Clutch Challenge. As you see the teams on the screen, I think that's going to be a really cool event in regards to that type of festivity. And then up next, we have this is the skills challenge. So usually it's been like 4 or 5 big guys, like big forwards or centers versus guards and whatever. But now they're doing something different, in which they're doing it in teams. So you have the Team Cavaliers, you have the Antetokounmpo brothers, then you have the rookies. So 3 teams of 3 players will participate in a 4-round competition that tests the shooting, passing, and dribbling ability. So it's pretty much like a big fundamental game, but once again, they're being creative by having different rounds, as you see on your screen. You can read it out. You can read it or check it out later on the archive of the show. But once again, this is about just being creative. I think it's going to be very entertaining. I like how the game of basketball, with the commissioner, Adam Silver, he just continues to try to find a way. Not saying he did it by himself, but he allows people to make the game more creative and make it more appealing for people to tune in and see what they're doing. So I look forward to seeing the team skills competition. Then, of course, you have your dunk competition on the left. Cole Anthony, Juan Toscano Anderson from the Warriors, Jalen Green, he's a rookie from the Rockets, and Obi Toppin from the Knicks. I'm excited about this dunk competition. All 4 of these guys, they are leapers, of course, in the game. But, but it's all about what you're going to do when the lights are bright during All-Star Weekend. That's when you really get your name out there.
And see how creative you are with the dunks, too.
Exactly, because, we've seen so many, types of dunks over these last up 10 years. So it's all about creativity. I look forward to this matchup. And of course, you have the 3-point shootout. I like this matchup here. I know Stan is excited about seeing Zach LaVine.
I like LaVine. He's good. Then
you have CJ McCollum. Now he's with the New Orleans Pelicans. Desmond Bane from the Grizzlies. Watch out for that team as well. Luke Kennard from the Clippers. Patty Mills with the Nets. Karl Anthony Towns. He has a set shot that I think is perfect for the 3-point competition because you know how some guys have to get the ball, jump up in the air real high and release it. He's the kind of guy that can kind of like stay still and stationary and just shoot it. So we'll see about that. Fred VanVleet, and then of course Trae Young. From this list, y'all, Joe, you may not be too familiar with these guys, so I'll ask, T-Bone or Bunny, do you see anyone here from the 3-point competition as the winner, or who are you choosing to win? Should I say
for the 3-point?
Yeah.
I could see Trae Young, and I could also see VanVleet. The big man, they could do it like Cat or even LeVine, but for that amount of time, I don't know. But I can see VanVleet and Young pulling it off.
If I had to pick, because look, I'm not as familiar with everybody, which is part of what I have a problem with the NBA All-Star game, but we'll get to that in a second. But the only person I know on there who I know is competent enough to do it would be Patty Mills, but he's probably not even favored. So
no, I probably say Trae Young is going to be the favorite just because of he leads the league in scoring, not points per game, but just scoring total overall, and he's a prolific 3-point shooter period. So
he's who I would say because he's the only one I know on there, and I've said on the show before that I like him.
Yeah. What about the dunk competition? Anybody?
I don't know any of them cats. I know I know you know your boy from Orlando, Cole, and that's your team. But I don't know.
No. Look,
that's funny.
You don't know Cole, but Orlando's your team, isn't it?
Look, I said there's a reason why there's not Orlando.
I'm sorry.
We'll get to that.
So, last but not least, of course, you have the actual All-Star game. So. You have Team LeBron, Team Durant. Now, tomorrow night is when they'll have their draft. But everyone you see on the left-hand side no, it's not. That's just they got overall. So, of course, they have the All-Stars from the East and the All-Stars from the West. The guys with the stars are the ones who will be starting for the game. Now, because of the injury to Kevin Durant and to Draymond Green, that's why you see LaMelo Ball on the right and Dejounte Murray on the left. They are the replacements, and it's pretty cool, especially from a ball standpoint. LeVar Ball got to be like doing backflips right now or drinking some hen. Like I told y'all, my sons got game, and now one of his sons is an all-star. So I think that's pretty cool, man, that he's in this position to be an all-star now for the first time. And I believe it'll be happening many, many years consecutively for a while in his career. Any thoughts on the all-star roster?
Well, I said somebody last week because I was being biased before I CP. At least he's still on the all-star team, but I said I want him to start. But it's actually it's a good roster on both sides, East and West. Interesting to see how this is gonna work. Ja Morant, that dude's so cold. Like I would love to see him play the whole game. He is exciting to watch.
He is.
I'm telling you. Like I wish he would be in the dunk contest. But overall, this is a good balance. I agree for most of these picks. So yeah, I'm excited.
And shouts out once again to St. Louis's own Jason Tatum. Like 3 years in a row now, he's an all-star.
Yeah.
So he's doing his thing, man. St. Louis is definitely proud. Shouts out to Monty Williams. He's the head coach from the Phoenix Suns. He's a coach of Team LeBron, and Eric Spoelstra, coach of the Heat for Team Durant. It's of course they do it off of who has the best record in each conference. So it's pretty cool.
Why does LeBron have a team?
So LeBron and Kevin Durant were the 2 highest vote getters.
That's how they picked that. Yeah.
Oh, so it's a popularity contest.
Yeah, I mean, the fans get 50% of the vote, 25% from the media, 25% from the players.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, fans are not always going to just look at who should get it just because of they like leading score or leading defensive player. They going off of popularity. So.
Yeah, and then like I said before, tomorrow is when they'll have the actual draft in which they'll like, I guess, flip a coin or whatever, and then they'll decide who gets the first pick until they have the last pick. So once again, who you see right now on the screen in regards to the player pool, that's not the roster under LeBron or under Durant. That's just the whole overall roster in general. Right. So, but the ones who have the stars, they will be starting regardless. So that's the cool thing about that. So with that being said, something that came out today, the top 15 NBA greatest coaches list. Was anyone surprised to see Eric Spoelstra on this list as one of the top 15 greatest coaches?
No, his rings back it up. He's what, 14 or 3? How many is he? Oh, wait. When Wade and Shaq won, Riley was still coach,
right? Right. Yeah, so Spoelstra has 2 rings.
He has 2 rings, or 2 with LeBron. Okay. No. I think people don't give him enough credit still, maybe because of
having LeBron and D Wade and Bosh.
And I didn't want to directly say that. I was just going to say maybe because
it's okay.
He was so young. I didn't want to say that's the reason, but if that's the case, you can say that about Phil. Phil has only coached great stars on his team, but Phil got a lot of rings. I mean, your rings back it up when you make this list. Again, Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr was handed that team to the Warriors. Mark Jackson had them together. Then he got, the axe. He come in and boom. So you can say that for a few of them, but for Spoelstra just having a team of stars and they won it, that's what your job is, though. So, because people get all stars all the time and still can't get them the ring. So, yeah, I'm not surprised.
So, y'all recall how I just said how Russell Westbrook has played every game of the season so far?
Mm-hmm.
It just announced that he's going to be out for tonight's game.
They ready to get him. He's on the trading block. That's what that is. He's on the trading block.
You spoke too soon, Fred.
I can see that. That's the one time he speak it up and then boom. But he on the trading block still. We got another 24 hours, y'all. So
yeah. So we'll see about that. And the last thing we want to bring up before we bring in our guests, once again, this is your Wednesday night Sports Delight, the platform sports talk show. And yes, Miss Williams, I jinxed it. But we talked about NBA, NHL. Let's include the other sports as well. Which professional league, and we're gonna rank them in order from basketball, baseball, football, hockey, has the best all-star festivities from the competitions to the game, etc. Joe, I'll have you go first.
All right, well, it's biased because I love baseball, but baseball's been number 1 for me because I generally like the home run derby and the game itself. And the home run derby is cool because fans can get into it by catching the home run ball, so that's awesome. And then the football and basketball, I don't really watch those. I will say basketball, that looked exciting. I will say that, but it kind of reminds me of hockey, like the skills competition. That's fun. So since I'm used to hockey, I'd go that 2, basketball 3, football 4.
All right, Bunny.
Well, I'll say who's last is in NFL and football. Their all-star stuff, like the Pro Bowl, that stuff is so whack. I don't know what's the other stuff they do for the fans that's in the city, but just the game itself, Pro Bowl is whack now. NBA, I'm biased, but it's true. NHL, though, I give them number 2. NHL got some good little skills and stuff. All-star festivities they do. Over baseball, baseball, home run is the only one I look forward to. That game is so too.
So you got basketball, hockey, baseball, and football.
Correct.
All right, T-Bone.
All right, so I think that just out of principle, I think all these go in waves as to which one is the best, and it all depends on what's going on and who's actually in it. So last, I'm going to put the NFL. and the NFL will probably always be last because it's the. I mean, I guess they changed it now to where it used to be the week after the Super Bowl. Now it's the week in between the Super Bowl. Like, it's not. You're not going to get people really trying to play or anything like that. It's always either an afterthought or it's like people getting ready for the Super Bowl. So I'm gonna put that one last, even though I should have went to it when it was here those years. But I was usually out. I was usually out somewhere skiing. Third, I'm gonna put. If we talking current times, I'm gonna put the NBA All-Star Game. And the reason why I'm gonna put the NBA All-Star Game, third, is because, well, not just the game itself, but like I feel that the NBA missed out on a whole generation of All-Star activities, and who I'm gonna blame for that, right? So you know who I'm gonna blame. I blame LeBron. Okay.
Right. I was waiting on it.
Now here's why I blame. Now wait a minute. Hear me out on this one. Okay. So in the 80s, when it came to the NBA All-Star Game, what did people look forward to?
Dunk contest.
90s, what did people look forward to?
Dunk contest.
Dunk.
What happened in the 2000s that was different from the 80s and the 90s? The number one person who people wanted to see in the dunk contest wasn't in the dunk contest.
Right.
So when you put yourself above the dunk contest like that,
he paid the way for others to do the same thing.
Yes, but this is the All-Star Game, right? If you're not putting the one that people want to see in it, then you saying the star is above the All-Star Game, meaning the All-Star, it don't mean as much anymore. So when you putting lesser than people in this contest, it's like, okay, well, that's cool, but if I'm not getting the top star, what's the point?
When you say lesser than, you talking about lesser than, because when I saw Aaron Gordon against Zach LaVine, that dunk contest was phenomenal. Nobody would consider them true all-stars per se, but it was still exciting.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it can't be exciting, but if you're saying the all-star festivities,
have your best players.
If you don't have the best name in there, because wouldn't it have been better if? And I'm not saying who would have necessarily won, probably one of them, but beat the top star, right? Okay. Beat the person who everybody knows. Okay. Put yourself in there, because if you're not in the contest, then it doesn't. It's the mid-star game, the star game. It's not the all-star game.
Mid-star. Well, because age, I think LeBron they do it because you got to have stuff in your contract. He's the type of person, even though he was young when he came to the league, he should have done it like how Kobe, like at least one time.
Yeah,
like you're right. You hit the nail on the head here.
So that's what I said about the generation, because again, that would have been in like the 03, maybe 04. Could have been him and Dwight Howard, right? Could have had that happen at one point. But so by the time you get to years past, it's like, okay, people waiting for LeBron to get in. He's not getting in. We'll stop watching it. That's what happened with a lot of people. So, and what took the place of that on the flip side was that, the 3-pointers started getting more important. You had Ray Allen, you had Steph Curry,
right?
But they're not the face of the league, but they're the best at what they do, and they're in the competition. So that's why I'm going to blame LeBron for the NBA All-Star Game being third on my list. I'm going to put hockey at number 2 because I was kind of looking at some of it, and I was like, yeah, I could get with this. I wish I could go to one of those games. Hopefully SLU or WashU will have me in the fall, and we can make that happen. And I'll put baseball at the top because, again, going back to what we were talking about at the top of the show, people like the home run derby. And if you put your stars in there, you can make stars, and they can have the spotlight right on them. Just those few players hitting those home runs makes a difference.
So I'm going to go ahead and say fourth place is the NFL, because as Bunny alluded to earlier and T-Bone, it flat out sucks. It's just a waste of 2 or 3 hours for fans who are there to see players half run and then stop in mid run to down the ball like it's flag football or whatever it is. And the skills competition hasn't been the same. They're playing dodgeball. Like that's how bad it is now.
I missed the NFL.
Dodgeball, really?
Yeah, I mean back T-Bone, you are so correct. Back in the day they had, like Brett Favre used to do it. Dan Marino used to do it. John Elway, Warren Moon. You had elite quarterbacks. I know our special guest could probably add on to this as well. but you had like elite quarterbacks that were actually doing these competitions, and it was fun to watch. Now it's just whatever. Third spot, I'm doing hockey. As I brought up earlier, and how Joe brought up, is like, yeah, the skills challenge is cool. I like the speed. I'm not sure are you still doing the fastest slap shot, Joe?
Yeah, they did that.
Okay.
What's his name? Gosh dang it! I can't think of a defenseman for the Lightning. I can't think of his name, but he hit like 103, 104 this year. So, Hedman, he won.
Got you. But yeah, I'm just not drawn into the game, whether it's 3-on-3 or 5-on-5 or whatever. This doesn't draw to me. Second, I'm choosing basketball. Love the All-Star weekend, everything like that. The games have been drastically better. Unfortunately, had to take for Kobe Bryant to pass away, but how they have changed the format in regards to the actual game itself. They're finally having these players play, not saying the whole game, like from start to finish, but it picks up throughout certain times of the game. This leads to number one, baseball. Like T-Bone said, the home run derby is you don't see guys going half fast in the home run derby. They trying to win. You know what I'm saying? The competition heats up.
I mean, look at Pete Alonso. That guy.
Right. I mean, he takes it serious.
Vibing throughout the entire thing, and he's just having a good time, but he wants to win.
Right, exactly. He takes it serious. And then the game itself, you don't see pitchers throwing lollipops up there. Here, try and hit it. Let's go. No, they throwing gas. It's like, here, I'm an all-star. Like, I'm going to show you what I'm about. Now, of course, the fans may not like it as much because you may not see a high-scoring game, but I think the last couple of years it's been, pretty interesting. It's not like it's been like a 2-1 score.
I mean, we got to see I'm pretty positive Max Scherzer versus Ohtani, and we got to see Corbin Burns against Vladdy Jr. And Vladdy Jr. took him deep, and it was at Coors Field, so the ball was flying out, but it was fun.
Yeah, so I feel like out of all the sports, that's the most competitive in regards to all-star wise.
Well, and like it or hate that one did have some stakes on it too that other ones didn't for a long time.
Yeah, back in the day, but I'm happy that's over with though, because I mean, some teams didn't get to have the best players, like injuries and whatnot. You can't have home field advantage for the World Series based off of a game that's for fun.
But didn't they do that because the game wasn't as good before then? Isn't that why they did that to begin with?
Yeah, trying to give them a reason to be more competitive in the All-Star game. But
I don't know when that started. I don't know when it started, but Pete Rose took it pretty serious whenever he was diving head first and breaking catches, collarbones, and ending their careers and stuff. So yeah, like I said on the show before, like, these guys are grown ass men. They're competitive. They want to win.
Right. So with that being said, Joe, I know you have to go. So thank you for your time, and you have a great rest of your evening. Thank you very, very much once again.
All right, you too. Have a good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Joe.
All right. Once again, this is the Platform Sports Talk Show. I'm your boy Smooth, along with
Bunny
and
T-Bone.
There we go. Once again, get them shares going, get the lights going, because it's that time. This man, he's been waiting. It's time to get him on. This guy here, he is returning to the Platform Sports Talk Show. We'll definitely talk about what has transpired from the time that he was on the show in person. That's how long ago it's been when we were doing it in person, y'all, in the getaway. But he's returned to the show. As you've seen with the captions and everything, this man here, once again, one of the most respected coaches and overall, you know what I'm saying? You hear his name, you see what he's doing. He has a huge impact in regards to not just St. Louis, but pretty much all around the country. Very, 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 very well respected. One of the most winning coaches in high school history. This man won state championships. Now he's doing big things as a college football analyst for CBS Sports and 247 Sports. It's definitely an honor and a privilege to have this man back on the Platform Sports Talk Show as we all introduce the one and only Carl Reed. Carl, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to be here, man. It's been a long time.
It definitely has, man. And as I was saying earlier, a lot has transpired in both of our lives since the last time you've been on the show. In regards to myself, got married, and the wifey told me that she knows you. Shout out, wifey.
We grew up together. Shout out to Jamie and her, my younger brother, her younger brother, and my younger brother are really close friends. Also, man, grew up together. And Jamie and I went to high school together, man. And I wish you guys ultimate blessings, man. I was really happy to see you guys get that thing going.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. We definitely appreciate the love that you're giving us, and to everybody else who's shown us love, man. This has been a beautiful thing. We definitely are enjoying every minute of it as well. Got a comment already. Oh, there she go. Coach C. There we go.
Hey, and y'all are becoming famous on Instagram with the dancing, man, and all. And the TikTok, man, you becoming a social media superstar, man.
Hey, we were told that we need to be some social media influencers. So I'm like, hey, let's get it. Ain't no shame. Ain't no shame in it. Time is ticking. It's like let's keep it going. Let's promote it. Let's show love no matter what. She says $1 million mouthpiece.
That's what they called me back then.
What? Dang, Coach Reed.
Yeah, that's what they called me.
Please explain that.
We're gonna have to get offline on that, man. Stick to the sports, man. Oh man, I wasn't expecting her to do me like that.
Well, the infamous St. Louis question: what high school did you all go to?
Hazelwood Central. Hazelwood Central, the Mecca.
Wait.
Mecca.
That was the Mecca. Mecca what?
The Mecca of high school football.
High school football Central.
Y'all can have football. I'll take wrestling.
Where'd you go to school?
Normandy.
I mean, mine's not football related. Let me just throw that out there. I graduated from Metro High School.
Okay, that's all right. I mean, it's cool. Normandy in wrestling. When was Normandy good in wrestling?
When I was there. That's got to be an answer.
All right. Hey,
I didn't say all 4 years when I was there.
I'll roll with you on it, man.
Now, see, I can probably say, as coach was talking about the Mecca in football, I am from the Mecca in basketball, and that's the V, baby.
That's why I was asking him. I'm like, Mecca what? I'm like, okay, football. I ain't gonna knock
everybody know when you played at Hazelwood Central, you was top 2. Everybody know it. When you played football, if you played football for the Hawks, you did a whole lot of winning.
Okay.
You know what? I'm captivated by the backdrop behind you, Coach. You have some famous people.
Pictures,
yeah, behind you. Do you mind just tell us a few of these people behind you real quick?
So you got Saban is back there, Les Miles, Coach Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh is back there.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Allen from Indiana, Barry Odom is on that wall.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Williams, legendary Bobby Williams, who was coach at Oregon, and he played at Sumner High School for Larry Walls. Darren Sunkett, who's my fraternity brother, he's also the head coach at East St. Louis High School. He's back there.
Okay.
And then Corey Patterson is back there, very close friend of mine. So and then I got some guys on the other side of the wall that you can't see also. So
you said fraternity brother. Coach Sunkett the Q?
No, we Sigmas.
Yeah, Sigmas. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Can I just
Sigmas in the house? Uh-oh.
yeah, that's fine. Before I do my Houdini act, Smooth, can I ask one question about him and his career? Since you're going to be joining CBS Sports, are you going to still be in the St. Louis area, or you have to relocate?
I don't have to relocate. I really will be everywhere. I'm gonna be working remote, but they'll send me different places. I kind of be all over, but home base will still be here in St. Louis. I'll still be around.
All right, great. Again, officially, congratulations. Sorry, I'm jumping the gun, but I got a butterball here, and I got to put her down soon. So I just wanted.
All right, thank you.
So before Bunny leaves, because Bunny, I know that you have a lot of thoughts. When I say NCAA, you see like a vein that just pops on her forehead. So she has, and of course, there's been a lot of complaints about the NCAA. But Bunny, I'm gonna give you this opportunity now just to ask whatever question you had in regards to the NCAA, whether it's the transfer portal or NIL or whatever's going on with the NCAA before you leave.
I'll just do a couple of questions, Coach. I'm not gonna do you like that and bombard because that's coming off being a high school football coach. And when it comes to recruiting and the NCAA's with their archaic, stupid, old ways, do you think the NIL help having that name is like in the name, image, and likeness now is going to help alleviate some of the what do you call them? When you're breaking the rules when it comes to recruiting and offering money and you shouldn't be. Do you think that's going to eliminate that completely or just a little bit?
Well, I don't know about any rule breaking or anything like that, but what I will say is the NIL does give kids an opportunity to make money, but it's not as far reaching as people think. Really, only the top guys are making money. Most of the players aren't getting anything, right? Mm-hmm. So from a marketing standpoint, if you're a company like Caleb Williams just left Oklahoma and went to USC, mm-hmm. He got a Beats by Dre deal. He was on Good Morning America this morning. Mm-hmm. A guy like that is making a lot of money. Bryce Young, the quarterback at Alabama, he did like $1 million this past season in NIL deals. But the average college kid, which is 85 to 90% of everybody else, they still not seeing anything significant, in terms of NIL. So the system is still kind of flawed and broken a little bit because what the schools did is they took the burden off of them having to pay the players, and they just said, well, the third-party people can play it, but the players are still many times in a financial hardship.
Okay, so that's a spin-off question. NIL, which would I expect it to only be the stars of NCAA, which is mainly football, basketball, some baseball, a couple of swimmers here and there, maybe a couple of hockey players. Again, I expected that because when you market the NCAA, Madden, and all that, of course, you're only going to go with people you know. Now, when it comes to from the business model of a third-party person handling it, schools aren't responsible. What about some of these schools now are putting their names part of NIL? Literally. So, everybody here is Michigan. You automatically think, actually, they get both basketball and football. But when you hear Alabama, you think football. Like, they are trademarking and using that for NIL. I think that's where the kids are going to get cheated that way. Unless they guarantee that they're going to spread all that money to all those kids on those teams. When the schools is doing it, don't you think that's kind of, let me not use.
Well, the school is not allowed to do it, right? The school is not allowed to do the NIL deal. What some companies have done, like it's a company in Florida that gave the entire team at the University of Miami like $10,000 a piece. It was something like that. But the school itself is not allowed to negotiate or be a part of the NIL deals directly with the kid.
Okay, so third parties is still kids only, not with the schools.
It's not. The school is not involved at all.
Okay, so from a business model, then doesn't that work?
I mean, it works for the star players.
But that's who it always was catering. Yeah. When I brought this up a few years ago, Fred know how to talk about the NCAA being a cartel. They're big and corrupt. When you sit there and talk about pay these players, that sounded great, and I still want that. But you just said only the top or the star, the people that generate the money. So that's what I mentioned earlier. Swimmer here, a hockey player there. Baseball players in college, they're not really generating money like that.
Well, the people who are making the most money, to be honest with you, are the female athletes that are pretty. Several girls basketball players, volleyball players. It's several women who are making anywhere between $500,000 and $2 million because they got followers on Instagram, and you know why they had the followers, so it's
I didn't even think about that part.
So that's what they have probably, the female athletes have probably benefited from NIL more than anything, and that's been significant for them. But I'd say they would be the biggest winners, like the Gonzalez twins, the Cadaver twins. They had a huge deal with Best Buy and Boost Mobile, and so they have got a lot of traction on the women's side because they have a significant amount of more followers on social media platforms than the male athletes do.
That makes so much sense, man.
It does now. Okay.
And T-Bone, you was shaking your head earlier when Bunny was bringing up a point
about paying the players. Like, you know, my stance has always been everybody should benefit, right? But when we're talking about paying the players, as we've already learned from the NIL, the players who are already going to get something, you know, in the long run, you know, the players who are likely to make it to the leagues, the players who have the big followings, those were the ones who were going to make money from the NIL to begin with. But as far as like Bunny saying, like, you know, she's for paying the players, not in the current way that that college is structured as it is. I don't think that should be the case. Not saying the players should not get paid, but I'm saying in the way that things are right now. Because to make an argument to say that players, I don't care if you're the best player, I don't care if you're the worst player, but to say that players should get paid because the scholarships that they have right now are not worth anything, but you have people out here with 30, 40, 50, 60 to $100,000 worth of student debt. First, and I'll say this, cancel the student debt. Second, moving forward, if you change the system to where public institutions were free or very minimal costs to go to, then guess what? Now, if a school wants to recruit players for their football team for their marketing purposes, now there's a reason to pay the players. So I'm just saying, in the way that things currently are, the argument shouldn't be about paying players. The argument should be get public tuition free, cancel student debt, and then you have a reason to have to pay the players, because then you have something where you can't say tuition is something of monetary value. You can't say it then, but you know, in the way that it is right now, the players who are going to college, they still benefit. And you know, again, for me, I was in the band in college, and you know, I went to an HBCU. And one thing I do know, completely different from, you know, football players, if you're a football player, there's a certain amount of time that you can practice. And you can correct me if I'm wrong with any of this. You can't go over that time to practice. You have a season. Once your season is done, you may have things you have to do to maintain or whatever. But for the most part, you're good that second semester. If you're in the band, as an example, you're there around the same time that the football players get there, if not right before. You go through band camp for a full week or two, actually. You go to the football games. You go to the parades in the local town. When the school wants to promote something and they want some entertainment, they call the band. The band does pretty much everything else. Plus, the band has to practice, and there's no restrictions on the amount of time that the band has to practice. So if you're talking about an HBCU, you're going to tell me that the football players are worth more than the band to that experience? Because a lot of people go to see the band too, right? But nobody's going to say pay the band. The argument right now is pay the football team.
Well, I didn't want to downplay that. And Coach Reed, you can speak on this real quickly. The issue is pay the players, but the players are generating all this money. But you're not saying also, where we're talking about tuition and all that, it's a public policy, and that's more government stuff we have to get in. So we're not even going to open up that one. But I just have an issue. We got these $1 million stadiums, and we still got athletes who are struggling and stuff. I just don't think of just football and basketball, because those are number 2 generating sports there. But that's still not fair that you still got the swimmers putting in extra time. You got these gymnasts putting all the time in, and they struggling along. And I'm not devaluing that a scholarship is still what they earn. But the fact that when these schools are making multi-millions off the back of these athletes, and you're sitting here talking about, oh, okay, the scholarship is good enough, y'all should complain you're not going to be in debt like your roommate here who's just a college student. No, I'm just saying pay for what y'all are getting on the end. These media right deals are multi-million-dollar deals. And kids, once they 4 years and going, the next 4 years, another group coming in, and these multi-million-dollar deals and these multi-million-dollar salaries the coaches are getting, it's just not equating. That's all.
Okay.
I think that a couple of things that you have to unpack there. I don't think that it's fair to compare the football team to the band, right? Because the band is not a revenue generating situation. But I also
HBCUs specifically. I wasn't talking about everywhere.
even at HBCUs, it's not a money generator. So the thing, so it's not really a fair comparison. It is a part of the thing there. It is a part of the HBCU fabric, but that's not what is generating the funds. I also think that when you're talking about the whole situation, you have to look at it from a business standpoint, because business is all controlled by money. So even when you talk about playing the players, like, where do you start and where do you stop? Because the third string linebacker deserve to get paid the same amount as the starting quarterback. You know, you kind of get into a slippery slope on that. And that guy doesn't have any markability because he's not one of the better players on the team. So you have to be careful when you talk about that. The second thing is only 10 to 15 schools in the entire country that have a profitable athletic department. Most of these schools finish it, even the large top 25 schools, many of them finish in the red every single year, other than a handful of schools. So I think when you're talking about spending the public's money and taxpayer dollars, especially, is what you have to use to pay the players, I don't think that that's just a cut and dry issue as opposed to playing the players. But I do tell football players this, and I would tell somebody in the band this. When you enter a game and you're going to play the game, you got to know the rules. If you signed up to do the band and you were going to have to practice and you knew what you were signing up for, then you just signed up for that. A guy who chooses to play football, he's signing up to be limited on the amount of majors that he can take because of his practice load. And it's not a free for all the second semester. They still just as regimented the second semester as they are during the season. But you made a choice, and life is all about choices. And what can you do in life at all where you get rewarded if you're not the best? Even on your regular jobs, the guys who are the best at their job, the women who are the best at their jobs, they probably get paid more, or they should, than people who put in a very average amount of work. You know, and that's just what life is. And that's the game. And if you don't like the game of football, then don't play it. But that's the opportunity that you dealt with. And there is still value in a young man getting his degree for free. If a guy goes and plays college football and he never gets paid and he got to go to college for free, he's getting the opportunity to start life with a 750 or 800 credit score because he doesn't have any debt. All right, because he doesn't have student loans. And that still is very significant.
And before we continue on, Bunny is about to go ahead and leave for the evening. So thank you for your wonderful question. We already sparked a great conversation. And as soon as it came in, we come right on into the fire.
Yeah, my bad, Coach Reed.
No, you good, Bunny. You good.
Oh yeah, but we love it. That's what this show is all about. So Bunny, you and Sanai and Sasha and your husband, y'all all have a great rest of y'all evening.
All right, you too. Thanks, gentlemen. Y'all have a good one.
Bye.
All right. Once again, this is the Platform Sports Talk Show. I'm your boy Smooth, along with
T-Bone.
And we have special guests.
Carl Reed.
There we go.
There you go. All right, I caught you. So I see a comment here from Alice where she says,
here we go.
There are costs to going to college aside from tuition, room and board, and fees. Personal expenses can add up, and not all students have family who can help them. And so there is levels to this. Like it all depends on where you're playing. If you're playing at a top 25 school like Alabama or Georgia or Texas, they don't have any extra costs. Everything, if the guys who play at the University of Missouri, they don't have any. They get provided everything. They sleep for free. They get free clothes. They travel free. They get a stipend. They have no financial. There's no financial expense if you're playing college football at that level. Now, if you're playing at a smaller school, a Division II school, maybe even in some cases at an HBCU, then there are some things that will add up. But those guys that are playing at the top schools in the country and at the Division I schools, they don't have any other expenses.
I think the same thing. Like even in my school, like the football team didn't have the extra expenses. They got the scholarship, pretty much everything that you said. As far as food, if they needed food, they got food. If they wherever their dorm was, they had a designated dorm. I don't even think they could stay off campus. So, But yeah, don't think that I'm saying that the band should, if anybody should be paid as the band. I'm not making that argument at all. What I am saying though is that I'm just saying that, you know, as far as football goes, the football players pretty much, like you just said, they pretty much have everything that they need. And if you're going to make it to the league, this is your basically this is your internship to get to the league. If you're going to get paid big dollars, you're going to get paid big dollars. For the 80% that are not, that tuition is everything that somebody else will want. And I'm not trying to say that, you know, well, don't pay them, because like I said, my argument is if there's going to be an argument to be made to pay somebody, there has to be a reason why they should get money. If they're already getting a tuition, there's no reason to give them extra money on top of it, except for, like I said, the deals that they have. That's fine, but as far as the school directly paying them, no, that'd be completely unfair to me. And again, being in the band, I knew what I was getting into as far as that. So I'm not arguing that, oh, well, we should have been owed this or that. I'm just saying that the band as a whole is required to do a lot more than the football team. And even though you can say that they're not revenue generating, but I'd say that at an HBCU, if you don't have the band, your attendance is going to be a lot lower per game. And also,
I can agree with that. I'll agree with you on that. I don't think that you can quantify that you work harder though.
Well, no. I'm not saying work harder at all. I'm not trying to say one is more than the other. I know football players are always going to say that they work harder than anybody else. But what I'm saying though is that, you know, from my experience, and this is different in all schools, but like from my experience, I could wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning and be expected to, you know, or I could wake up, have my day planned out as far as going to classes and everything like that. I could get a text at 10 o'clock in the morning, be at the band hall at 2, because the school has something coming up and they want everybody for a performance. That would happen with us. That's not going to happen with the football team.
But that's not true. That happens, but for different reasons. You might have to go to the football facility for something else. I think it's easier to say when you're in it, because I am friends with people who are in bands, and I know that is a major commitment. But I think that when you look at somebody else's lane that you're not in, it's easy to say what you're doing that they not having to do. And I don't think that the average person will want to trade places with what they have to do either, right? And I just think that's I don't think that that's accurate what you're saying. You can get a call from your football coach at midnight to meet you in the office because he watched the game clip and he didn't like what you did, and he wake you up out your sleep and make you come straight to the football facility, you know, and he don't care that you got class at 8 o'clock in the morning. And football, they want you to play football. Everybody's not into whether the kid gets his degree or not. Imagine being a very academic-centered kid and football is paying for you to go to school, and your coach doesn't let you take the major that you want to take because one class will make you 30 minutes late for practice one day every 2 weeks. You know, and that happens to those guys all the time too. But in terms of them getting paid, I'm not a fan of everybody getting paid because everybody doesn't contribute to the bottom line like that. Everybody doesn't deserve to get paid, right? Just like I don't think that everybody at your job should be making $100,000. Some people that should only be making $30,000. There's some people that only do $30,000 worth of work, and they might get paid $70,000. You know, it's the same way in football. So there are some guys there that should be happy that they're even on the team and that they're getting a degree for free because they don't put in much effort when it comes to football, you know, and some of them are still in the education while they're there getting paid for by the football team. You know, so it's so many layers to getting paid that you would have to unpack to solve that issue. But in terms of what's fair and what's not fair, you know, man, what's fair in life, you know, and what's not fair in life. We all have to experience some things. You get passed over for jobs or promotions or somebody don't treat you well. But I still am a firm believer that the kids that I have coached that came from very rough situations, that went to college and got to go for free, and they got to change their family on the basis of an education, right? that they didn't have to pay for and that they didn't have to go on $100,000 of student loan debt for, I think that was a significant additive to their life, and I think they're in a much better situation than they would have been had they not had that option. And they coming out with no debt. They live in nice houses. They got nice cars, and all they had to do was play a little football, right? And they didn't even have to be a premier player. And I do think the guys that everybody pays to come watch play that are winning the Heisman and doing things like that, they probably deserve a little extra because they are bringing the financial revenue in. And if your football program is really on top of everything, it does have the potential to pay for everything in the entire athletic department.
Do you feel that with the NIL, that for certain players, once they smell that, I have a $1 million deal now, or I have, $500,000, whatever it is, that it may take away from them wanting to perform better while they're in college because now they're already getting checks at an early age compared to wait till they get to the league?
No, because the guys that are making that kind of money are the most elite players, and they motivated by greatness. They're not all motivated by money, right? And so I don't care how much money you make in NIL, it still does not compare at all to the money of an NFL contract or an NBA contract. It's no comparison to it. If you get $1 million in NIL deals, if you got $3 million in NIL, the first signing bonus for a first round pick is still $20 million, right? Your contract is still worth $25 million over 4 years with a 5th year option. So whatever you made in NIL is still only a fraction of the payday that's ahead.
And I saw something, I can't recall if it was today or yesterday, but someone is trying going to government and trying to say that students should be called college student employees. Do you think that's a fair label?
Well, the reason that they're doing that is because schools want to restrict the movement of the players in the transfer portal. But you cannot restrict the players in the transfer portal because you cannot restrict amateurs. If you were going to restrict their movement, you would have to classify them legally as employees to basically give them non-compete agreements, which is what that would equal. And so people who are disenchanted by the fact that the players can move freely because of the transfer portal, they will try to put those legislations in place. But you have to classify them as employees. And if you classify them as employees, then you also have to pay them for their time. So it's a lot of red tape involved in that.
And speaking of the transfer portal, I know T-Bone and I, we've had a lot of conversations about, the portal and everything. And I've posted on Twitter about it being a gift of the curse. Of course, you're able to get a great talent that you may have thought you may not have gotten in years, but you're getting them, him or her that very next season. But then, which is the gift. But then the curse, which I was saying is it kind of like if something doesn't go your way, then you use the transfer portal to try to find a better option for the grass is greener on the other side. So it doesn't help develop handling adversity. It's kind of like it's also like that easy way out. Now, I was saying this, that maybe there should be some kind of guidelines in regards to the transfer portal. Like, for instance, let's say head coach that you were recruited by at LSU or whatever, and then that coach leave, then that should give you that right. If that coach leave, then you should be able to go ahead and leave right there. Or you should be able to go to that school for, a couple of years and then decide if you want to leave and not leave the very next year because something doesn't go your way. I just feel like with the transfer portal, it's a great thing for certain situations, like what I just explained about the coach leaving. But then is it also hindering these students, these young men, these young women from not learning, from preventing from learning to handle adversity and not just leave because the coach don't play you as many minutes as you hoped that you played. So now you want to go to a different school and hope for the best. Is that, do you feel like the transfer portal is hurting kids like that as well?
I don't think the transfer portal is hurting kids at all. And I also don't think that they should have to stay to fight the adversity that all the adults want them to fight. I think that one thing in life that I believe to be totally true is that every person should be able to do exactly what they want to do when they want to do it. Now, there's consequences that come with that. If you go into the transfer portal, you have to understand you may not end up at another Division I school. You may put yourself in a situation where you don't find a school at all, but you do have the right to make that decision. We have adults that quit all the time, right? I'm in meetings all the time, and I do interviews every week, and people are talking about the kid's not handling adversity. Well, the same adults that want them to handle adversity, they can't handle adversity either. Every time they boss will upset them, they look for a new job. They walk out on their kids, they walk out on their families. They do whatever they want to do, but you want the player from your favorite team to sit there and handle adversity. They have to be able to make the decisions and be free to make those decisions the same way that I'm free to just do whatever I want to do and you free to do whatever you want to do. If ESPN comes in here and calls you tomorrow, are you going to say, well, man, I want to go through the adversity of building my show from the ground level, or are you going to take a bigger opportunity? I would hope that you're going to take the bigger opportunity. If you don't, I'm going to call you and I'm going to talk about you, right? And so at the end of the day, I just think that everybody has the right to make whatever decision that they want to make based on what they think is best for them. And it's not my position to tell you that you're right or you're wrong. The only thing I'm going to say to you is, have you thought it through? Have you weighed the pros and cons? And whatever decision you can live with, then you make it. But I don't think that you should be restricted from making any decision, because we only talking about restricting a small group of people, because every other sport already could transfer. It was only football and basketball players who weren't allowed to transfer freely. Baseball and soccer and track and all the other sports were always able to transfer freely. Football players at Division II schools were always able to transfer freely. Only Division I football and basketball players were not able to transfer, and that's because they're trying to control the economy and the way the money flows in the sport. And sometimes, guess what? Those young people are making a bad decision. Sometimes somebody in your family calls you because their boss pissed them off at work, and so they want to quit, and they making a bad decision. But you got to live with the consequences of the choices that you make, but you do have the right to make them, because I could be telling you not to transfer, and I might be wrong. You may transfer, and it may be the best thing that ever happened for you. You might meet your wife. You might meet somebody who gives you a 6-figure job. All kind of things can happen, because at the end of the day, do we really know how it's going to turn out? We all just a bunch of people with opinions, but we don't really know what's going to happen.
T-Bone.
Oh, I'm sorry. My ESPN thing here. Let me move that up. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, look, that was pretty much my same stance, and to even add on to that, it's totally unfair to make players, have to deal with something when they got a finite amount of time that they can be in that system to begin with. They got 5 years. So to say, hey, look, handle this for another year, and then, things don't go right, and then you eventually transfer, but then, somebody 2 classes down from you is a prodigy, and then, there's a spot that you can't even get now. That's I don't think that they should be restricted anyway. And like I said, when we brought this up before, I brought up that, NBA players, look how many times that if there's an opportunity to request a trade or, demand a trade, whatever, they're going to do it. So why are we going to tell the players to be better than the pros, like the college players to be better than the pros? That doesn't make any sense to me. Now, going back to what you were talking about before, though, as far as like the legislation, what was the catalyst of them drafting that legislation, Smooth?
Sure, of course, money. What?
No. Remember when we were talking about Jackson State, and I said, look, you got players transferring to Jackson State and all these schools are embarrassed. and
yeah, right, yeah. So then the Florida States are trying to find a way to do something to prevent schools like Jackson State from continuing to get these high profile stars to go from skipping their school and going to an HBCU.
Yeah, because what's more humiliating to schools like that than this school over here that I don't even know, where is Jackson State? Jackson State? What is that, in Jackson or somewhere? Which is probably what most of them were saying. Like, when schools like that get some type of advantage, they got Deion Sanders, and now you got Florida State embarrassed. You have all those other schools embarrassed because they couldn't get those players. Like, yeah, it's going to be people trying to say, let's try to find a way to change the rules, let's change the system, which is another reason why I was against paying players, because, again, you take away any type of competition that any of the HBCUs can even possibly get at that point, because all those other schools are, have all kinds of money compared to them. So,
here's where I think HBCUs have an advantage, though, because, like, number one, you can't use Jackson State as the example because they have Deion, right? And Deion comes in with $1 million deal already with Barstool. He's the best player to ever play his position in the game. He already, like, Deion's situation is not a situation that can be duplicated anywhere else at the HBCU level. But HBCUs do have a huge following. I mean, when we look at the stats from what we do media-wise with 24/7 and CBS, the stuff that we do on HBCUs has just as high a volume of fans, commenting and looking and downloading as any other group. The HBCU fans are fanatical about their teams and their rivalries. Grambling just had a company do a huge NIL deal for the Grambling football team. So that's actually something that levels the field for those guys, because a lot of times they don't even look at they're not even looking at HBCUs, but that's all changed. And Deion has brought a lot of exposure to that. But you can't, like, even though Florida State was upset or people upset because Deion got those kids, it's still not enough to move the needle. Like Nick Saban not worried. Georgia not worried. Those programs, it's not enough to move the needle to get them to do that type of legislation.
Oh, my point was long term. If there starts to become a trend where stuff starts happening where, like I said, with the NIL, players can make money going to these schools, and even if it's not the number one draft pick type money, like you have a way for, again, if you're a player, and if HBCUs are starting to get more exposure, because you just brought up that CBS is looking at it, right? ESPN is kind of featuring them a little bit here and there, more and more, I should say. But if you have a situation where a player can go be the second string at Alabama and maybe get some playing time, but probably won't be a player who will get any type of attention, but they could go to let's call it Jackson State for now, right? They could go to Jackson State and they could be the star player there and get some money from some type of deal there. Like, I'm not saying every player is going to take it, but you might see some more players than there are right now. And I just think that at some point, I'm just talking about competitive advantage. Like, let's say that, to your point, let's say CBS sees that, okay, these HBCUs are getting more and more attention. Well, let's put a couple games on national television and see how they do. And let's say they do well, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's put a few more on and let's see how they do. And let's say they do well. Okay, well, we're going to dedicate time to these HBCUs and put them on TV. That takes away time from those other schools, right?
Well, I don't think it takes away time from them, because they would just put them on an off night like they do with the MAC conference. They would never give them the prime time spots that are held by the top 25 schools in the country. So it's still the gap is just way too wide, to make those comparisons.
Yeah, I think besides the top 25, though, like you still have other schools out there that still get some type of playing that still get airtime, right?
Like, give me an example.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any because I don't follow college football as far as deep as
yeah. So like they have what's called the Maction games, right? So which is like schools like Northern Illinois and Bowling Green and Western Michigan, but they play those games on ESPN on Tuesday and Thursday nights.
Mm-hmm.
They have very high ratings for those games, but they're not. They don't give them the prime time slots.
Okay, so to that example though, so what happens if they start putting HBCU games on some of those nights? You don't think that there's going to be some complaints with some of those schools saying, "Wait a minute, what happened to our area?"
Probably so. Yes, you have some people who will complain, but you won't have the people complaining who you need to move the needle for legislation to change. If you want legislation to change in college football, that has to come from Alabama, Georgia, Texas, USC, and Ohio State. It would have to be something that happened where they felt threatened and they felt the need to get involved, and we just not there yet.
I agree.
Ms. Williams has a question, if you can see on the screen, Coach. So are you saying that NIL could help medium-sized colleges attract players that might otherwise choose the big schools?
I think it has already. It has. And that's been proven because every college also has markets in big business. Every university has rich alumni, right? They have everybody. Like, I don't care what college it is. There's some group of rich alums. There's some company that's known for something that supports that school. And a lot of those guys want to be good in football and they want to be good in basketball, and they helping those kids sign NIL deals. And you would be more likely, some kids would be more likely to get a bigger NIL deal from a smaller school where they would be a bigger impact player than if they go to a major school and they got to wait their turn to play.
Mm-hmm. And Ms. Williams says local businesses could be a factor as well.
Yeah, absolutely, they could be.
So overall, Coach, you do feel that the NIL is what's best for the NCAA. Is that correct?
Well, I think it's best for the kids. It allows those kids who have the ability to make money. And the kids who not getting any money because they haven't reached that level of status yet, they have to keep working towards that if that's what they want. But they are also getting the education, which has a lot of value to it.
I got you. So with everything going on with the NIL and with the transfer portal, especially just from you as a coach, if there was an opportunity for you to coach in the NCAA level, I'm pretty sure if the opportunity was there, you would take it. But do you feel that with so many things changing, kids coming and going, not having a lot of continuity, unless you're like in with Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State, would that make you want to be a college coach in the times that we're going through now in the NCAA?
Well, I've had opportunities to do that, before in the past, but either I felt like the timing wasn't right. I had a group of kids I felt like I needed to finish coaching. So you can never know what tomorrow will bring. Right now, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. And so it's been a really good deal for me, and they take care of me very well. So who knows what the future will bring.
Got you. And you definitely correct in regards to the future because, as I was saying before, so much has changed, in between both of our lives since the last time you was on our show. And I brought up, me getting married, and hello once again, wifey, love you. But I think it was during the time that I reached out to you about getting you back on the show. Then it was like a few days later, breaking news. You leaving from Lutheran North to go to DeSmet. Are you able to elaborate on what was the reason that you decided to change course and go from Lutheran North to DeSmet?
It was time. It was time. We had a great situation at Lutheran North. I think it's a great school. I think anybody that has a kid in grades 6 through 12 should really look at Lutheran North as an option. But for me and where we were at, I felt like we had done all we could do there. We had won championships. We had sent a ton of players to college. We got guys in the NFL. And at that time, I just felt like we had reached the ceiling of what we could do.
Got you. Which leads to DeSmet. What led you to choose DeSmet at that time? And of course, it was pretty much a one and done a time at DeSmet. So, what was the reason for choosing DeSmet, and for now you leaving DeSmet to now do what you're doing now with being a analyst?
Well, when I went to DeSmet, I had been looking at a couple jobs. I had looked at a couple out of state jobs too, and then the DeSmet deal just kind of opened itself up for me. But during the process of all of that, I got an opportunity to work at CBS and with 24/7 Sports, and it was one of those rare opportunities I didn't feel like you could pass on. And so, the timing of it, when it actually happened, it happened probably a week or two initially after I had took the DeSmet job. So if CBS would have called me, 2 weeks earlier, I would have never even went to DeSmet. I would have been leaving Lutheran North, going straight into CBS. So just kind of the way the timing of it worked out, it was one of those opportunities that I had to take advantage of, and I just wasn't going to be able to do anything else.
That's what's up, and once again, congrats in regards to this big step for you from high school coach legend to now doing your thing with CBS Sports and 247 Sports. And as you see, Ms. Williams and she said her son went through the North from 97 to 2000. Shout out to my boy Ed. I hope everything's well with you. But now, how does it feel? And I see in the title, excuse me, just about you being so well respected around the region, locally and also nationally. People hear your name, they know that you are about your business. You are very successful in what you have done in the past and what you're doing now. But how does it feel just knowing that you have so many different peers who have so much respect for you, former players that you have coached who said so many great things about you, and even lead to what you're doing now as an analyst?
Well, we put a lot of work in, and it's a relationship business. You want to make sure that you're always doing right by people, and you want to make sure that you're handling your business. One thing that I always tell my players, I tell this to my sons, is make sure that you did what you were supposed to do. And as long as you do what you're supposed to do, you're going to get opportunities, and you're going to get things, and you'll be respected. Your name is all you have really in the end anyway.
And as I look once again at your background, has there been like that coach during your younger years as a high school coach that when you first met him, you was like, wow, I have the opportunity now to meet this guy, or I've always wanted to meet this coach, and you had the opportunity to do so?
Well, I met them all, right? So I think that, and you try to pull something from all of them. I think that Coach Saban taught me about how important it was to develop your players and have great players, and take advantage of that. But I would honestly, if I was to say the individual coach that probably helped my career the most would be Larry Walls, who was the coach at Sumner. I feel like he changed my career, and he taught me some things that took my game to another level, and he demanded some things out of me that made me even go a higher level than I had ever been before. So you can meet a lot of guys, and you can name drop, and I can tell you stories about every coach in the country, but I can tell you that the most significant coach to my development has been Larry Walls from Sumner High School.
Nice. Tebow, did you have a question?
No, you go ahead and keep going.
All right. So let's move on from high school and college to get right to the NFL now. As you know, there's been a lot of discussions ever since Brian Flores came out with his allegations, as they say, in regards to pretty much the diversity hire, how the process that he went through, getting the text from what's his name from the Patriots. What's his name? I'm sorry. Belichick. Thank you very much. I lost my mind for a second. But as we all have seen, there's been pretty much an issue with diversity in the NFL. And I heard a question today from Jim Trotter. He's like a reporter in the NFL. He asked Roger Goodell about it. But just from you as a Black coach, what are your thoughts right now in regards to how the NFL has been handling it, or should it be the owners on how they're handling diversity right now in the NFL?
Well, it's hard to get a job as a Black coach on any level, right? It's hard in high school, it's hard in college, it's hard in the NFL. And I think that Brian Flores, he sacrificed himself for what he feels like is a righteous cause, right? He probably will never coach again in the league. He probably it's probably over for him. But what I would say is, when you think about the Rooney Rule, to having to hire a minority, there's things that have to be put in place to even get guys assistant jobs so they can build their careers and ascend into those situations. So it's not just a matter of when the head coaching jobs come around, it's a matter of even helping guys matriculate into the coaching profession when their playing career is over, and providing training for that so they can build the necessary relationships, because people typically hire who they know, right? So if you look at the Black coaches that do get hired, most of them were very good players in the NFL. And so people are comfortable dealing with those few guys, right? Mm-hmm. But for guys who weren't comfortable, who weren't really good NFL players, there's no segue or breakthrough for them unless they end up being one of the best of all time, So it's really a difficult deal for coaches.
And then, as we all learned yesterday, that Houston Texans, they have now the former Rams defensive coordinator and Bears coach in Illinois college football team. Now Lovie Smith is the head coach. And to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seems like to me it was one of those, hey, we have to hire a Black guy because of what's going on now in the news. So Houston, go ahead and make it happen. Am I wrong on that assessment?
I don't think that that's true. Like, if you sit in the room with the NFL owners, they don't care what you think, right? And they don't bend to public pressure. And if you've ever sat around a billionaire, I think that you'll realize really quick that they think that they're the smartest guys in the room, and they're not going to fold. Lovie Smith has been a winning coach in the NFL. He's been a successful coach, and I'm sure that there were some decisions that were made behind the scenes, but I don't think that it was strictly the NFL telling them that they had to make that move.
T-Bone, any thoughts?
Yeah, you would know better than I would, because they, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that they had mentioned that he was one of the finalists until after everything kind of went down, which is probably why it looked suspect. But he was already with the organization, so that one could probably go either way. But look who was he a finalist with? It was he was just the quarterback with them like a couple years ago.
McCown.
Yeah. So that goes to that point. So I'm trying to think how many Black quarterbacks have gotten close to head coaching gigs. Not even a couple years away, but and again, I know it's about everybody's desires and everything about what they want, but have there been any?
Probably, I would say recently, Byron Leftwich.
Right.
He was a finalist at Jacksonville this year, and he was actually offered the job, but he wouldn't take it because he didn't agree with who they were hiring as the GM. He wanted to also control the situation. So he had opportunity, but he was a Super Bowl winning OC, and he was also a very good quarterback in the National Football League. So once again, if you can play, everybody's not going to be good enough to play quarterback, the way that he was.
Yeah. Yeah, it the Flores, because Flores was also one of the people that was in talks to get that position too, right? So it came down to McCown, basically Flores, and then Lovie Smith kind of came out of nowhere for
all
people.
Of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, like I said, that's why it, as T-Bone was saying, it may look kind of suspect that all of a sudden, boom. Well, we have Lovie Smith here. still around. Let's go ahead and see about him. And then not trying to compare what he's done to what Josh McCown done, because Josh McCown hasn't even had prior head coaching experience in any level, from what I have been told. So it just makes that whole process, which has been the issue, is, as you were saying before, Coach Reed, the fact that we even have to do a Rooney Rule in the first place to allow opportunities for minorities, not just blacks, but just for minorities to get an opportunity. Then the lack of any owners, black owners in the NFL, it just really makes things stand out, especially when the majority vast population in NFL is 70 to 80% black players.
Right. You're right. I agree with you.
That's the biggest part is, you see, we out there making your brand better, but you don't want us to have ownership or manage that better. Like, shouts out to Mike Tomlin, who's been holding it down for how many years now, Coach?
15 years.
15
years. And they never had a losing record, or season, so shouts out to him. But
he's with the Steelers, and that they're the ones who created the Rooney Rule.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And they've only had how many coaches? What is it, 4 or 5 coaches in their history?
Four in the whole history of the organization.
Yeah. And see, but like with the McCown thing though, like that's one of those things that kind of struck me when I saw that he was one of the finals, because like you were just a quarterback like 2 years ago.
And now, no experience.
Yeah. So I'm like, there's nobody out there better than him. Like, how do you, like, for me, that's one of those, it's like, how does he get to the finalist position? Because I feel like there should be some type of prerequisite or something, like some type of, if I were to go try to be a doctor and I haven't been a doctor before, they're not just going to be like, well, I think you can do it. No, there's some prerequisites that have to be done for that. And I know that there's a huge difference between being a doctor and an NFL coach, but it's a complicated job if I'm not mistaken. And I don't think that that's just something that can go to somebody who has no coaching experience whatsoever. That just doesn't make sense.
One thing about it though, if you're an owner, you do have the right to make whatever decision you want to make for your franchise. You're the one that's got to pay, and it's your name on the line. And if they want Josh McCown, he should be able to coach.
He should, and that's absolutely fair. But it's also fair that people can be critical of the decisions.
Oh, absolutely. We all had the freedom and right for our own opinion in our own situation, for sure.
And the part that frustrates me about this process is, you think about Jim Caldwell when he was with the Detroit Lions, and he had that team in the playoffs. He had that team, the Detroit Lions. They came from a terrible leadership from what they had before, and they brought him in, and they started to win. They beat the Cowboys the first round of the playoffs, I think. No, they almost did. But he was getting them to that respectable point, but then he got shafted for a different coach. I think the guy from what was his name from the Patriots, not Patricia. Is that his name? But anyway, he was like a defensive coordinator for the Patriots. Then he got the job for the Lions, and he didn't do anything those 2 years that he made it. Then you got Brian Flores, who turned around the Dolphins. And I said this last season, I'm like, watch out for Brian Flores, because this dude here is going to change the Dolphins organization around. And you win, 8 out of the last 9 games, or 9 in a row, something like that. And then you get shafted. It just seems like black coaches are easily getting shafted so quick.
Set up.
Well, you gotta be twice as good to get half as much, But that's not just the NFL, man. That's everything. You already know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's just my biggest frustration is, you finally turn around an organization, but then you still get gone because you feel like there's a personal issue with how he feels about a quarterback, or how whatever your as an owner your thought process is. But
you could look at Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy's an example of that. Or you could look at, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Lovie Smith go out on a winning season too?
No, it was the other way around, I think. Like, he was doing good at first, but then he started having losing seasons.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like Lovie Smith. See what makes me wonder about some things, and this has been for years. It's like if Lovie Smith goes 10-6 for 4 years or 5 years, and then has a losing season, why is the losing season more of a reflection of him than the winning seasons were? Like, what was
as good as your last, season?
And that's a fair point, but it doesn't seem like that standard always goes across the board with everybody. It's like as soon as I can't think of his name right now. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, but who was the coach in Cincinnati?
Marvin Lewis.
Yeah, like even when he was winning, like and this was more media than the owners because I know that these are different situations. But even when he was winning and they were in the playoffs or whatever, people were saying like, "Oh, he needs to go. We need to get another coach." Like they did.
But Marvin Lewis was the coach for 15 years in a row and never won a playoff game.
Right.
So we also have to make sure that we're being honest about whether a guy was successful or not when he got that opportunity also. And so we can never use the Bengals and Marvin Lewis as an example because he got much longer than anybody got, black or white, but he just had a good relationship with ownership and they stuck with him. And Marvin Lewis is a great guy, great football coach, but he didn't win a playoff game, and that's the reality.
Yeah, they didn't see him no more as that guy that can put them over the hump.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to Lovie Smith, so I stand corrected. 2010, 11-5. 2011, 8-8. 2012, 10-6. Then he was gone.
Yeah, that's it.
And that in 2010 was the year that they won the North Division and lost to Green Bay in the championship game thanks to Jay Cutler.
and also, it could be hard. We're not all working with all the information from the inside also, so there's always things behind the curtain too that we don't know about.
Yeah, I know everything I see is on the surface. Those are just the examples that I could think of off the top of my head where it's like where you knew these coaches were winning or whatever at the point where they were, released. But it's like it doesn't seem like it goes that way the other way around. It's like, people are set up more for, okay, we're going to build you for the long term. It's like when black coaches get hired, and every coach that comes in for the most part comes into losing situations to begin with.
Right.
But it's like what happens when you get into season 2? It's like, well, we just saw like a couple coaches just went away after playing with one season. So,
but then think about it. But then you also have that hot shot college coach. Look what happened to Arizona. They had that black coach for 1 year, but then they saw Cliff Kingsbury in Texas Tech or whatever school he was at and shot him up because he was like the hottest thing smoking.
Yep, that happens too.
Well, that was NCAA though.
No, but what I'm saying is that Arizona had a black coach already there.
Yeah.
And then after 1 year, just one season, they went on and got rid of him to bring up Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah.
Mr. Williams says, I do think black coaches are held to a higher standard. Thoughts on that, Coach?
I mean, yeah. Listen, at the end of the day, I just was speaking to a group of black coaches the other day. You got to win, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to win. And if you don't win, you're getting fired. And you know that before you sign up, right? And so if you don't win when you get fired, that's just the business, man. And I don't think that it's always racial, right? The problem that you have is that most white guys know other white guys, just like black guys know black guys, right? We have to get more black coaches involved in football at the entry level so they can grow to the top of the profession. That's where the issue is, right? The issue is the entry level positions that guys are not getting the opportunity to take a part of, because that's where all of these coaches come from and grow through and go to. If you take, I don't care where you at, high school, college, or the NFL, if you lose, you are going to get fired. They're going to call you in the office and they're going to tell you it's time to leave. Whether you black, white, yellow, purple, or green, you're going to get fired, right? The issue that we have is we need more black coaches involved in the game so there's more options when guys do get fired for us to take on other jobs. That's what the real issue here is. It's not a top decision. It's an entry level. Our guys are not getting opportunities at the entry level position.
Yep, they don't have that door opening for them to go through and show what they have to offer.
Because and I told some of my former players this. I have a former player right now that has an opportunity to go in and be a grad assistant coach at the college level, but he's still chasing trying to make it to the NFL, and he's probably not going to make it. Right? He's probably not going to play in the NFL. And so many of our guys that play, they spend 5, 6, 7 years chasing, trying to still make an NFL team, and they give up, man, they whole 20s chasing that. And then at 30, they got 2 kids and they got situations and they can't afford to do an entry-level job at that point. So some of that we have to blame on ourselves also.
Do you feel like that's not something that's, taught, or not even that it's taught, right? So like you have coaches who see these things like you just pointed out, but you are you. But do you feel like a lot of other coaches are bringing these opportunities or pointing these things out to just call it black players? Like it seems like there has to be a problem where people are being told the right advice by certain people that gives them the opportunity to do it. Because as we pointed out, if the league is 70% black and you got 2 black coaches right now with Lovie Smith being hired, like that's telling me that somebody's not getting good advice. If that's the case,
that's not necessarily true either though. If I took 100 football players and I sat them in a room and 80 of them are black and 20 of them are white, and I say to them, hey, most of you not going to play in the NFL, maybe not any of you. And so we have these 10 things put in place so you can be successful, your career counseling, job set up after college and all of that. But you have to do X, Y, Z. 90% of the black players in that room are going to leave and say, F him, I'm going to make it to the league. And that's the mentality. And that comes from our neighborhoods, our schooling. That's a systemic issue.
Oh, I agree.
It's way deeper than that. And so we're trying to pinpoint it a lot of times on the college coach or on the advice they're getting at that level. But for the most part, man, they're getting that advice. They're just not taking advantage of the situations and the opportunities that many of them have.
Well, so stepping away from sports slightly, like for me personally, here's a situation where I could point to exactly why something like that happens. Like the high school that I went to, I already said, I'm not going to say it again in this context. They didn't prepare us as far as like looking for bigger opportunities. And there's a lot of things that I could point out to off the show. But, one of the reasons why a lot of people didn't pursue things wasn't necessarily just because, oh, well, I don't want to do that. It's, I don't see anybody else that's doing it like this. And again, to going to this point, if I'm like, if you say to me, hey, you can be a coach and you could possibly, get to the point where you can coach in the NFL, and they see that there's 1 or 2 black coaches, the prospects don't really look too good. But if you see that, well, 70% of the league is black and I'm black, well, that's going to make people think that. Like for me, I'm trying to go to law school right now. I'm in my 30s. But if I would have thought that it was an opportunity or possible when I was 18 going to college, I probably would have pursued that path way earlier. But if it wasn't something that, I thought could happen, I wasn't going to pursue it at that point. But now that I know, and I think that that's what happens with a lot of people, especially when it comes to coaching, they get into it later on. And then by that point, so many generations or not generations, but so many years have come under them where now you could have possibly had a job 10 years ago, but you started with a 10-year disadvantage.
Yeah, that's due to a broken educational system. We can have a whole nother show on that.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother show.
Speaking of show, this is your Wednesday night Sports Light, the platform sports talk show. Once again, I am your boy Smooth, along with
T-Bone Funk
and special guest
Carl Reed.
This has been an excellent show once again, Coach. We definitely appreciate you staying on with us as we end up in this conversation with this Super Bowl Sunday goes down this week. Definitely would love to have put on your analysis cap and tell us in regards to the Cincinnati Bengals, your thoughts and keys to win this game coming up.
I think the game is going to all come down to the line of scrimmage. Aaron Donald is going to be the best football player on the field on Sunday, though. And I don't think that the Bengals can block him. We do have a hometown kid on the Cincinnati Bengals, Renell Wren, but I do think that the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl.
And I was saying that, too, in regards to I think about the first game of for the Bengals when they faced against the Titans and Joe Burrow was knocked down or sacked 9 times. And that wasn't against a team that had guys like Aaron Donald and guys like Von Miller and guys like Jalen Ramsey on the defensive end. And I read a post that you had on Twitter recently pretty much saying how it's important to have a strong front line, offensive line and defensive line. So I thought about that, like, to me, that's who I have winning the game too, is the Rams, because of Aaron Donald and because of that defense and trying to stop that defensive line, because we saw against the Titans how they had a hard time trying to contain the defensive rush.
Yep.
T-Bone, you have your prediction?
I know it. I hope. I hope that the Bengals can pull it off and get their first Super Bowl victory. Do I think that that's going to happen? Prefer not to say, but I hope the Bengals pull it off.
All right, and once again, it does go down this Sunday. I believe it's at 5:30. It seemed like to me, guys, that there's been so much more talk about everything else but the game itself this year. Not sure if it's because of the Brian Flores thing, the diversity, but it seemed like it hasn't been as much hype or talk about the game like it used to be. Am I off on that, or do y'all agree?
Yeah, it's been a lot going on, man. With the Flores thing, kind of took center stage. Also, some of the things that are going on in college football. But on Sunday, we're gonna have a good football game.
Yeah, I feel so too.
I think that you don't have. I mean, the Rams are in LA, but
it's not a home field advantage.
Well, there's that. But you're not looking at two teams that are, historically, the most popular teams in the league. So, yeah, the Brian Flores thing. Don't forget, Tom Brady did retire, like right before that happened.
For now.
Yeah, for now. But, we can only go with what we know. We know that happened. And, it just doesn't seem like this is one of these things that, is going to catch national attention like it normally does, as if the ratings don't necessarily, climb as they've done in the recent years.
And so with that being said, let's say if the Bengals did happen to win, how great of a story just from nostalgia would this be if the Bengals did win the Super Bowl?
Well, it'll be incredible for that fan base. It'll be as big as LeBron leading the Cavaliers to a championship. Joe Burrow is an Ohio boy, and he also is a guy who spent a little time at Ohio State before he went to LSU. And it would set Joe Burrow's trajectory into potentially being one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
T-Bone.
I mean, I think that the Bengals winning would, I mean, honestly, if the Bengals win, I don't think it's going to be something that people think about after next year. Because if a big name team gets in there or something like that, because a lot of people are looking for like Patrick Mahomes to be in the Super Bowl again. But it would, to his point, it would help Joe Burrows become one of those names. Because right now, what the league is going to kind of need is those replacements for your Tom Brady for now, your Drew Brees, your Peyton Mannings,
Big Ben.
Yeah, all of them, because that generation is pretty much gone. So, you need that group of quarterbacks that's going to catch the attention of everybody, that people want to see who's going to be the one who gets the most rings out of this group. So, that would be helpful. It's not like Matthew Stafford has like a generation left in him. So,
right.
And then on the other end, if for St. Louis Rams fans, if the Rams did win, how would that make you feel? I know it's been 6 years now since they've been gone from St. Louis. So if they did happen to win, would there be like an extra hurt, or is like, okay, you know what? It's been 6 years, so I don't give a damn now if they won or not.
No, it won't bother me at all. It's been long enough. I've moved on from it, and made the best team win.
Oh. Well, we had a good season. And for us 49ers fans out there, if the Rams win, it'd be one of the worst things I could think of happening over the past few years. That's what I think. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, and for those watching Ms. Williams, I think she's about to comment right now. Let's see. Got nothing against the players, but I like to see them lose so they can say that the only Super Bowl they won was here. I feel you on that. And it just feels like whether they win or lose, it's like, will Kroenke ever really get the karma that he deserves from how he treats St. Louis? I think that's what St. Louis are really looking for, is that bad karma that happened to him. But it just seems like I said, even if they lose the game, but you've been there the last, 2 out of 4 years. So you're not losing value. Now, maybe down the road, because you don't have any first-round draft picks for the next couple of years, maybe that's when you might start seeing things decrease, because you may not have this guy no more and that guy no more, can't acquire a certain talent because you don't have the picks. But it's like, do y'all really feel that Kroenke will really feel the real wrath of what he's done to St. Louis with everything he's done now?
No. Kroenke sleeping well, man. The man a billionaire. He don't care about none of that.
Hey, what if the sewage backs up during the halftime show?
Oh man,
they wind up having some problems at this stadium.
In which that's going to be awesome too. The halftime show. I look forward to it. It should be very entertaining. Miss Williams is like Coach Reeves just said. He doesn't care as long as he's making money. Exactly. So, I mean, what's $798 million? He can make that up in just what? and he make it up after Sunday. So, it is what it is. So, with that being said, Coach, before we go, what's next for you?
Well, what's next for me is I'm about to watch the Super Bowl like y'all, and then we're just going to keep reporting on college football, man, doing some great things, and just keep working.
Nice. Do you still have that old coaching tingling? Like, I miss being out there. I know it's only been a couple months, but do you have that? Oh, you know what? I missed it. Or
you had to ask me when the season starts.
Okay, well, we'll make sure around July, August of this year, we'll get back at you, man, and get you hooked up back to the show.
All right.
Did you have any special shout outs before we go?
Man, no, not really, man. Just we got a big camp coming up here on April 9th in St. Louis. Anybody who want to register their kid for it can go to www.iwannasign.net. And if anybody who wants to follow me on social media, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram at Coach Reed Live.
There we go. And as I said before, this show will be archived immediately after we're over, after it's done on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, and also on Roku TV. So definitely give us a follow. Next week, we will not have a show. Taking care of some things outside of the show. So we're going to take a week off, and then we'll jump back into it the following week. Definitely recap what went down for the Super Bowl and the upcoming All-Star weekend in the NBA. So a whole lot that we will be discussing. T-Bone, thanks again for your time, brother.
Appreciate you having me.
Shouts out to Joe. Shouts out to Bunny. Welcome back once again, Bunny, on the Platform Sports Talk Show. Coach, once again, thanks for your time, for being on here. And if you don't mind, as soon as we end this broadcast, just stay on just for a little bit longer. Won't take as long at all.
Okay.
But for everybody else, thanks once again for watching your Wednesday night Sports Delight, the Platform Sports Talk Show. Get them likes going, them shares. Follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Roku TV. Let's keep it going, y'all. Almost 5 years in April. Keeps on getting better and better, y'all. So with that being said, it's your boy Smooth along with
T-Bone.
And one last time, our special guest,
Carl Reed.
Platform Sports Talk Show. When it's about sports, it becomes our business. Business continues to pick up. We out, ride, we out.